welcome everyone to the Islanders Never Say Die podcast. I'm your host, TJ, and with me again, as always, is our NHL analyst and expert, the grumpy old man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grump, what's going on?
Yes, TJ.
How are you?
Wonderful.
Wonderful. What?
Yeah, I'm going to see an advanced screening of Spider-Man today, midnight showing through one of my connections. So I'll be giving a book report tomorrow on the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man show.
Yes. Well, before we get started too deep in today's podcast, remember this Islanders Never Say Die podcast is a twice a week Islanders podcast. We talk all things Islanders, the good, the bad, the ugly. We go live every single Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like we're doing here tonight. We go live every single Saturday, also at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That being said, we also cover any Islander game live that's not on a Tuesday or not on a Thursday and not on a Sunday. So if you're looking for a little bit of a live stream watch along, myself and the grumpy old man have you covered. And to make sure you don't miss out on any of the action, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter. You can also check us out at the podcast below and the link in the description below called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. That is a sports podcast. We just talk sports and shoot the shit. And that podcast occurs every single Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every single Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, same deal, that one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow on Twitter. That being said, housekeeping items out of the order or out of the way, Grump. Rough loss last night to the Red Wings.
That's true. It was a rough loss. Are there any questions?
I'm sure there will be plenty of questions. More I think we're getting more answers as we continue.
I just want to say that it means that we're not going to be able to get the 14 points in the 10-game stretch that I feel that we needed to potentially still have a shot at making the playoffs. Think about it. We've played, 7 of those 10 games right now, and we've only made up 1 point and have passed no teams. So if we play another 120 games at 1 point every 10 games, approximately, we should get to our goal. Unfortunately, the season's only 82 games long, and we're 25 games in.
So just so I make sure I understand that, Grump, you said we're averaging only 1 point in the last 7 games?
No, I said we've picked up 1 point we were 12 points out of a playoff spot when this little stretch of 10, probably the easiest that we have left, and now we're 11 out of a playoff spot.
You got to do a better job explaining, Grump. I was lost there for a second. You're talking about since we resumed play against the San Jose Sharks, right? Overtime loss. This is after we came back from COVID, guys. Overtime loss against the Sharks. Overtime loss against the Red Wings, shootout loss against the Blackhawks, a victory against the Ottawa Senators, a loss in regulation against the Nashville Predators, a victory over the New Jersey Devils, and a loss against the Red Wings in regulation.
7 points in 7 games, right?
So
not good enough.
Yeah, 7 points over 7 games.
Not good enough.
Better than what we were doing beforehand. Today we're going to mix things up a little bit. We are. And here's the reason why. For those of you who are consistent listeners, you know that we do not sugarcoat items. We tell exactly what we feel, how it is. No need to lie or to try to embellish, a bad situation and say it's good. I'm not going to do that. But I want to start off, Grumpy, with the positives for right now. Trust me, there's a lot of negatives, but I want to start off with the positives. Reason for hope. If not for this year, maybe reasons for hope for next year, and what types of reasons we have for hope currently at the moment, Grump.
Well, here's the thing. TJ, this is the first I'm hearing of this also. So, TJ,
I got to keep you on your toes, Grumpy.
Okay, that's fine. But I would like you to give us your positives so you don't just parrot my points as usual.
The positive here is Sorokin has been fantastic. This season, remember last year, Sorokin had some games where he was kind of, a little mortal, I would say, and other games where he really looked like he could stand on his head. What we've learned so far from even this short time period of 24 some odd games, we've learned that Sorokin is the real freaking deal. He is an outstanding goaltender, and when dialed in, when dialed in, he's a top 5 netminder in the league. There's no doubt about that. I think, of course, he benefits from the system. That being said, this is a goalie where his raw talent and ability could succeed anywhere in the league playing any style of hockey. And we always
Agreed.
talk about, hey, how do you build a team? You build it from the net forward.
Okay, I agree with 100% with Sorokin. 100%. I think you eloquently described your point of view, and I have nothing to parry with. So I thought it was
Parrot.
fantastic.
Or you meant Perry? Really? Were you going to try to rebut my points?
If they're stupid, yes, but you did it wonderfully, and I happen to agree with you. So
What another reason also um I wouldn't say excited about the future, but to be positive about going forward. We have always wondered, right? What was the next step forward for the defense? We had a lot of question marks coming into this season. At this point in time, we kind of have a good gauge on what we think Noah Dobson can be. Noah Dobson, I think, has really elevated his game since we had people out with COVID, since we've had Ryan Pulak out with injury. I think Noah Dobson has really stepped up his game over that time period. That being said, he could still make a mistake or two, but they're coachable mistakes. For anybody who was saying we need more out of a Noah Dobson, we need XYZ out of Noah Dobson, he disappoints me. He should do this differently. He should do that differently. You have to feel excited about what we've seen out of Noah Dobson performance-wise. Mind you, he is a young defenseman, grumpy old man, only 21 years old, and he's playing top 4 minutes or should be playing top 4 minutes game in and game out. And he's a fantastic skater. He's got offensive acumen, and he helps drive offense a little bit. And I think he's a reason to be excited. I think Robin Salo is a guy you could see all the pieces are there for. Another guy who makes coachable mistakes at this moment. And again, I'd much rather a player make coachable mistakes than mistakes due to his inability to play or his age hindering him from playing like his former self. Robin Salo does make mistakes. He's not Bobby Orr. He does make mistakes. That being said, you see a lot of the pieces are there. He does a good job of joining in on the forecheck. He does a good job of making those outlet passes. I think he's a fantastic skater. He can use a little bit of work, not being a little bit so relaxed in our defensive end. Just a little bit more of a sense of urgency. It's the same thing that Noah Dobson struggled with when he first tried to get acclimated to the NHL style of game. So I see, a lot of positives in Robin Salo. We've got Pelech and Pulak locked in long term. So you're talking about a top 4 that could be, it could be really deadly in that item. And I think those are 2 players to be positive about here for right now as well, Grump, regarding the defense.
Yeah, I think Noah Dobson has been the one bright light when you're actually with Pulak going out. Someone had to step up, and Barry was forced to increase playing time for Noah Dobson because otherwise he wouldn't have done it. Let's be honest, right? Let's just call a spade a spade. Dobson would have been playing as, 13, 12 and a half, 14 minutes a game, but he was forced to play Dobson. And now we see what he actually is, right? So he's actually benefited from the absence of Ryan Pulak. Now, you mentioned Salo. I'm not as high on him right now as you are. You said he's not Bobby Orr. He's not even Carol Vadnais right now. So, for me, he's still got a ways to go yet, but he does show that he's fairly calm in certain circumstances. And like I said, if the season is truly over.
Okay. Well, hold on. We're talking about the positives.
I'm trying to talk about the positives. If the season is truly over, he's a guy who should play all the time. So he works out the majority of those mistakes, learning. I know the Islanders hierarchy does not believe in training guys on the job in the NHL, but I think that that's the path that we need to take with Robin Salo if the season is actually, on the downside.
Well, here it is. I'm saying, Grump, let's talk about some positives to start off. And he manages to mix in, hey, let's throw out there the fact that the season could be over. Grumpy, we're just looking at the positives, what we've seen on the ice. I'm not extremely high. I'm high on Salo. I think he has a tool set. He makes mistakes, and that's as all young defenders do. But I'm happy with the tool set I've seen on the ice. And just like with Noah Dobson, right? When he stepped on the ice, you could say, hey, he made a lot of mistakes. He looked a little tentative out there. He looked, kind of like every single step he was so measured with. And he didn't say, hey, I'm just going to play my style and I'm going to play, like I belong here. And as soon as Noah Dobson's gained that confidence, he was able to showcase it. And I think Robin Sallet's going to take less time to step in with that confidence role. But you
I
have
don't
to
know
feel
about
like
that.
he's a guy. Okay. He's older. That's what I'm saying. It's going to take him less time. A little different when you're 19, 20 years old in the NHL, as opposed to a guy being 24, 25 years old. I feel like starting point wise, right? It doesn't take as much to, flip the switch for confidence to kick in. Again, everybody's different, but I think Robin Salo is a reason to be excited about the future.
Yes,
And excited about the now too. Want to talk about our forward group. There's a lot of reasons to be excited about what we've seen out here on the ice from our forwards. Select members. I'm going to use that very importantly. Select members of our forward group. I've loved what I've seen out of Oliver Wahlstrom this season. He's a guy that needs to be playing 15 plus minutes a night, every single night. And yesterday, against the Detroit Red Wings, even though we lost, that line, as shocking as it may sound, of Kiefer Bellows on the left wing, Zach Parise at center, and Oliver Wahlstrom at the right wing, I think 5-on-5 was one of our most competent and best lines on the ice. Unfortunately, they didn't play enough minutes for my liking, but I think that Kiefer Bellows and Oliver Wahlstrom really had a fantastic game. I cannot tell you how many turnovers they forced in the offensive zone and the neutral zone with their forecheck and their very fastidious stick checking of opponents. I tell you, that is a reason to be positive. Everybody had announced Kiefer Bellows' time of death. Boom, we're stamping it. Kiefer Bellows is finished. He doesn't have a chance. I've given up on Kiefer Bellows. That's it. Kiefer looked bad the one game early on in the season. Well, ladies and gents, we've seen Kiefer Bellows over more of a 5-minute span or a 6-minute span. The one night he had a bad night or whatever it was, a 10-minute span that night. We've seen him where they said, you have a chance, earn this opportunity. And we've seen what he can do. I think he's looked more than competent on the ice, and I think he's a guy who can play at the NHL level. People were saying he could not. I think that Kiefer Bellows certainly can, and Oliver Wahlstrom has all the makings to be a bona fide top-line sniper.
Now, Bellows has shown that, but Barry
positives right
okay.
now.
No,
I want to hear the pot. We're going to talk about the negatives. We're going to talk about the issue. I want to give a reason why Islanders fans should not jump from a support beam grump. I want to give reasons why Islanders fans should be optimistic, maybe about this team going forward. I want to give them a few glimmers of happiness during a time period where the team has really struggled. So I wanted this to be the positive portion. We could talk about the issues later on that could be negative, but I want to talk about some positives. We very rarely do this on the show. So I want to take the time to do a little segment at the beginning, first 15, 20 minutes, to talk about the positives.
Well, we're 15 minutes in, so I think we can go back to, being realistic at this point in time. Yes, I agree that Wahlstrom has looked very good. Yes, I think Bellows has looked good, but yesterday, if you look at time on ice, Wahlstrom played virtually the last 4 minutes of the game. And if you take away those 4 minutes, he would have been under 10 minutes, just like Bellows. Bellows had the least amount of ice time yesterday. And it's always going to be an issue with Barry Trotz as head coach that the young guys are not going to get the ice time. And that's why I said, if the season is truly over, I want to see the young guys play. And that's my positive. I want to see the young guys so they can show what they're capable of doing.
Your positive is not to talk about what we've seen out of those players production-wise. Your positive is, if the season's over, we'll get to see them play more. That's the positive you have? Well, I guess it's a positive for you, and I'm sure some people think the same way.
No, I said right off the top that I thought those two have played very well. Certainly when you look at some of the other Eggers on the team. But Barry won't buy in. He refuses to buy in right
Jesus
now.
Christ. Positives, Grum. Positives. I don't want to hear.
Positive Barry won't buy in. I'm positive he will not buy in.
Jesus Christ. Now we have set. Hey guys,
here's another positive. Mat Barzal is fantastic as a player. We see what happens when he's not in the lineup. Yikes. So there's a positive for you. Mat Barzal is needed on this team.
And here's the thing. Like, I feel like occasionally you'll get from low information fans, oh, Barzy's not needed. We can replace him. He's easily replaceable. After watching last night's game, and after we watch the Bruins game tomorrow, and after we watch the Vegas Golden Knights game on Sunday, and after we watch the Montreal Canadiens game on Monday, and then probably the Washington Capitals game on Thursday, you will notice that no, Mat Barzal is not easily replaceable. That guy is the cornerstone of this team. his production and what we see on the ice from him is truly special. We miss him desperately, desperately. He's fantastic. I think he has stepped up his game this season, even though it hasn't resulted in more points. And I think with better line mates, better wingers, especially on the right wing, I think you could see him putting up monster numbers, and especially monster numbers for the Barry Trotz system.
Right. And here's another positive for you. I like our young core. If given a chance, I think maybe the downtime won't be as bad as I foresaw previously. But as long as the young core is given a chance to succeed this year, so they get that experience under their belt, augment with some parts, and no more trading away draft picks, maybe our downtime is going to be a little bit shorter than I thought it was going to be. There's a positive for you. How about that?
That I was about to say, that's about as positive as a note that Grumpy could ever make. Holy shit.
I did say maybe, though.
It doesn't get much more positive than that for Grumpy. But you're right. I am happy with the core of the team, the young core of the team. I'm happy with the Mat Barzals. Anthony Beauvillier is a guy who has struggled immensely so far this season.
Played better last night, though.
He did play better last night. Well, and again, him being benched, even though it didn't result in a goal, and most people are going to say he missed that wide open opportunity in front of the net. It was a tough shot, hard angle, and he was. I would have liked to see him put it in, but again, I'm not throwing him off the cliff for not putting it in. But he did play a better game last night, I think, with more energy the way he has to. Anthony Beauvillier is inconsistent. That's just how he's always going to be, in my opinion. Mat Barzal, though, he's a young core member. I'm excited about him. Oliver Wahlstrom is a young core member. I'm excited about him. Kiefer Bellows, I wouldn't say necessarily I'm excited about him. I'm just thinking that he can be a competent player at the NHL level.
He could be more than competent. He's got a good shot. All right, better shot than Anders Lee. He can stand in front of the net. I mean, Anders Lee is a moose out there, right? Let's be honest. But he's not really mobile. I think maybe with a little bit more of a mobile aspect out there and Kiefer Bellows, maybe you have basically the same thing with a better shot. I mean, there's nothing wrong with tinkering at this point in the season. There really isn't. And I'd love Trotz to do that.
So there's some young core pieces or some young pieces we can build around in the forward group, albeit not that many. But here's the thing. You can find fourth line. I know the Islanders fan base and the Islanders group are so fixated on, I need to have the same fourth line year in and year out. The bottom line, it's not how most NHL teams are run. And after we see the sunset on Casey Cizikas, Matt Martin, and Cal Clutterbuck, do not expect that we're going to have our fourth liners on our NHL roster for 7, 8, 9 years. The same formation or similar formation. That's not how it should be. The bottom six should be guys that are young, hungry, or guys that are veterans that are saying, hey, I want to stick around in the league. I've got something to prove. So, I mean, what we really need to have, again, a solid top six. We've got pieces, right? Oliver Wahlstrom, I definitely think could be one of those guys. Mat Barzal is one of those guys. And you look at defense, we've got still Ryan Pulock and Adam Pelech right now in the primes of their career. We need to reunite that line back together. But you've got young pieces like the Noah Dobsons, like the Robin Salos, that should give you reasons to be optimistic about. And you've got a guy, when dialed in, a top 5 netminder in the league in Sorokin. You have pieces to build around for certain, just like Grumpy said.
Yes. Unfortunately, all of our pieces that are young are already on the roster. It's not like we have a wealth of young talent coming up through the minors at this point in time.
We do have one player that I think Islander fans could feel excited about in our organizational depth, and that's Aatu Räty. I think he's the guy you have to feel most excited about. I haven't necessarily bought into the William Dafoe hype. Everybody's hyping him up. I'm not saying he's not going to be good. I'm just saying, guys, you got to take it with a grain of salt. The guy is an overager. He's
did not make Canada's World Junior team. Also, did not make it.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing too. Canada has such an immense amount of talent to pick from that it could have been more of the, hey, we're looking for a guy to do this, and we don't feel you can do that.
Okay. I'm just saying he didn't make the World Junior Championships roster. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm just saying, right? Aatu Räty is a guy regarding our depth that you have to feel the most excited about. Ever since getting loaned or moved out to Jokerit, he's played very well in the Finnish Elite League. and a guy that we would like to see continue to build. But he's a guy you have to be excited about. Now, let's talk about the now guys, right? We wanted to give a reason to be positive, a reason to say the world's not over. We're not going to see a permanent eclipse. We're going to be in darkness forever. We wanted to give you reasons. We don't do it often, but we feel like we had to do it. We have to do it, guys. And I know Grumpy, holy shit, Grump. I'm shocked I don't see beads of sweat dripping down your forehead trying to say a few positive things about the Islanders.
I said there are some positives. There are some positives, but even the positives have some negative aspects to it, and not because of the players, because of the way that they're handled. And that's a problem. Like I said, for me, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There needs to be some long discussions in the offseason because Barry Trotz is going nowhere. All these people, Barry Trotz has to go, fire Barry Trotz. No, that's not happening in season. Just not going to happen unless they lose another 25, 30 games in a row, which isn't going to happen. That Barry Trotz is not going. But I think it's fair to have a conversation in the offseason and just say, you know what, we have to go in a different direction. And what I mean different direction, I'm not saying that, we don't want to play team defense or anything, but I'm saying, we're incorporating younger players, and getting younger is more important than just getting a bunch of veterans and just hoping to scrape through into the playoffs. I just think that can't happen anymore. So, and that's what I'm saying. So, and you have to say to Barry, hey, the season is on the downside. It's over. Probably not going to make the playoffs. Let's see what we have. Let's see if the young guys on our roster are as good as we think they are. Let's see how they play with the regular shift where they don't have to worry about getting benched or having their minutes cut when they make one mistake, because that's the way it is now, unfortunately. I would say, Barry, I want you to treat the young guys like you treat the vets. Okay?
I want you to give everybody the same rope that you give out there in the ice. I know you've said multiple times to the press, the vets get more rope. Well, right now, we need to have a come to Jesus moment. And again, it'll be interesting to see when they would have a conversation like that, to have a come to Jesus moment, to see, when do we need to start treating everybody the same and saying, the season's lost. Now, Grump, I know we had talked about this 10-game stretch. We talked about with Kim, Isles Girl 3 on the podcast. We talked with her and saying, what did we need out of 10 games? Once COVID protocol ended, we had 10 games. I thought it wasn't the softest part of our schedule. It was far from the hardest part of our schedule. I thought it was a very manageable portion of our schedule. I thought we can come away with 14 points. We won't be able to do it. That being said, grumpy old man, when do you kind of say, all right, we need to be geared towards looking for next season and look for the rebuild?
Now. Right now, because if you didn't get 14 points against that schedule, that's what I said. I've pushed my line in the sand. I keep drawing a new line in the sand. That's over, because I gave them 10 games, which is more than enough, and they haven't done the job. And it's the whole thing is we haven't beaten anybody we've beaten 2 teams with the winning record all year. I'm sorry, we're 25 games into the season. You have to beat teams with winning record. 24. What does it matter? We're going to lose to Boston tomorrow night. That's a given. Okay? We're going to lose to Vegas. We'll beat Montreal. And we're going to lose to Washington. That's what's going to happen. That is realistically what's going to happen. Without Mat Barzal, we really have no offense. I did see a little life from the team in the third period last night. But all I kept thinking was, man, do we need Mat Barzal out there? We really do. And who are the guys who are showing up? Is it your Josh Baileys? Your Kyle Palmieri's? No, it's not.
It's the young guys.
It's the younger guys who are showing up. The Wallstroms in particular. Bavillier showed out last night. I thought he did. I thought he showed a lot more hustle. That's probably the best game he's had, I want to say, in 10 games.
He has showed up. I just need to see it more production. Again, like the same exact issues I have with a guy like Bailey or Anders Lee when he's not scoring and producing on a top 6 role. I need to see the production on Anthony Bavillier. I'm not saying he can't get there. I think he's a very streaky guy by nature. That's what he's always going to be. In an ideal scenario, on a really good team, Anthony Bavillier is a third-line left wing. On a really good team that has depth, Anthony Beauvillier is a fantastic third line left winger. Maybe, and again, maybe in a different system, he would score a lot more points. So I'm not doubting that. But in this system, you have to say, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of offensive production to play more team defensive oriented style of hockey. Now, you also mentioned, Grumpy, we play the Boston Bruins tomorrow. That we do. Now, this is a game the Islanders should win. And this is why, Grump. The Boston Bruins are not only missing Craig Smith with COVID, Brad Marchand also with COVID. They also are missing Patrice Bergeron with COVID protocol. So they're missing 3 forwards with COVID protocol in the last 2 days. They're missing arguably their top 2 forwards are out with COVID. The Islanders should be able to hopefully win, right? We're missing Mat Barzal. Yeah, it's a big loss. For certain it is. They're missing Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand.
That has a 0-0 shootout game look to it, doesn't it? I mean, Boston's a one-line team. I mean, I know they have Taylor Hall and Pasternak is still going to play. But, I mean, that's kind of an underwhelming roster. You can't take 2/3 of their top line out. They're basically, in my opinion, a one-line team.
Yeah, and I'll just show you. So they're at least expected to be out past December the 16th. So these are games that the Islanders need to come away with a win for. It's not – here's the thing. An overtime loss is not enough. It's got to be a win. And the thing I think that frustrates fans, it frustrates me, it frustrates Grumpy, is the amount of excuses. That is the thing that drives me nuts, right? I'm willing to say, yeah, it wasn't advantageous for us to start off with a 13-game away from home trip, given we did have a lot of breaks in between that time period. So it's not like a true road trip, but was it advantageous to be away from home for the first 13 games of the season? No, I don't think so. Did COVID help us? No, it certainly did not. It helped certain players, but not the team as a whole. But, I mean, the excuse train that we keep on seeing propagated by the Islanders media cartel is what I think drives us as fans and drives the people nuts. It drives me nuts. I know it drives you nuts. And I think it drives a lot of listeners of this show nuts too.
It really puts me over the edge. And, you know, we did the watch along, so I didn't get to watch live the post game. But I did DVR it because I'm always interested to see what we say in the post game. I'm interested. And you heard Shannon saying, gosh, you really have to feel sorry for these guys. You know, things aren't going right. And you know what? Things are so different because like 10 years ago, social media wasn't what it is now. Now you pick up your phone and when things are going bad, people are saying you're doing bad. That's so tough on the players. I'm like, guess what? I'm sorry. Stop making excuses. Every team has gone through this. It's not like the Islanders are the only team who's had COVID, the only team who's had these difficult circumstances. And even hear Barry, oh, well, you know, that's the way, you know, it's just what we're living now. That's what the reality is. Well, other teams are able to do it. Why not yours? Stop making excuses. Just stop. And then he says, you know, we're not here to make excuses after he made an excuse. That's the worst thing you could do is set the media up with your excuse, but say, but hey, there's no excuses here. As soon as you mention it, you're making an excuse. Sorry, Barry.
It's like when you're talking about a person who needs to lose some weight. I wouldn't call him fat. I wouldn't call him morbidly obese. I wouldn't call him unhealthy. I just say I wish you would care a little bit more about, you know, his look, his appearance, maybe his health. I wouldn't call him fat though. No, I wouldn't call him disgusting. I wouldn't call him this, but he just needs to focus a little bit more on his health, right? You set it up and essentially get your point across that, hey, there are reasons why we're struggling, but no, we would never make excuses for it.
I'm not saying the guy's fat, but if he lost 100 pounds, he'd probably be more healthy. That's the way you kind of say it. But hey, or it's a guy saying it himself. Yeah, I'm not fat. You know, I could probably lose 100 pounds, you know, but that's not an excuse. I don't know. Like I said, don't make excuses. Don't lay the excuse out there and just say there's no excuses because that's just exactly what you did. Lou did the same thing. He did the same thing with the COVID, same thing.
I want to also talk about Shannon's comments, right? I love Shannon. And those are just corporate orders she gets. Hey, Shannon, say this. Okay, I'll say that. I love Shannon. I love Shannon. But I just think those are the corporate orders she gets. Oh, give this as an excuse. Man, oh, man. Yeah. Are we trying to think? And the thing is, for a lot of casual fans, they probably think that, oh, yeah, this is odd. You know, 10 years ago, they didn't have to worry about the mean old trolls and the old meanies on Twitter saying, Islanders are so bad. I can't believe the Islanders are struggling, right? Every single professional hockey team has the same exact fan groups that get enraged when their team doesn't do well, and they all tweet at the players and at the organization and at the media cartel and at anybody who will listen anytime their team struggles. Just how it is. Every single team goes through that. It's not like it's unique to the Islanders. Yeah, sure, you could say at the time of it's different for the system. It's different for the time and the age of where we are. But Jesus Christ, guys, it happens all the time. That's just what it is now.
I'm going to tell you what, it's worse in other organizations, way worse.
Could
You
you
got to
look
remember
at how bad it is in Toronto and all the I mean, like, man, oh, man, think about Toronto. Jesus, their media.
Philadelphia. I mean, Boston. I mean, these people hammer their team when they lose 2 in a row. I mean, you lose 11 in a row. I mean, there were still people making excuses when we lost 11 games in a row. I mean, like I said, and the reason is because the Islanders have been downtrodden for so long. They see success the last couple of years under Barry Trotz, so they don't want to rock the boat. You know, that's not me, though. I'm sorry. I'm always going to speak the truth, period.
No, and I appreciate, trust me, Grump, I appreciate when you do that. I think every fan does. Um, that also being said, we will not have a podcast this Saturday. I apologize in advance. We will not. I will be at a wedding, so I will not be podcasting this Saturday. That being said, we will cover the game live on Sunday, 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But just giving you guys the forewarning, we will not be going live as we always do on Saturday. And again, the Saturday after that, I think, is Christmas Day. So, we're going to be, with Christmas time, obviously, spend time with your families as myself and Grumpy will do. But just giving you guys the heads up, we're also around Christmas time too, guys. So, maybe the Islanders come out of this, if they're able to win some points, win some games, maybe get a little bit of streak going to Christmas. And then you've got, again, after Christmas, the Islanders have a very manageable stretch of games. You've got the Buffalo Sabres twice. You've got the Red Wings again. You've got the Oilers, and then you've got the Seattle Kraken and the Vancouver Canucks. You've got some winnable games in that stretch. The thing is, we have to start coming in with 2 points. That's just the bottom line.
You can't keep on. If you lose, you have to get the loser point. That's where it's at. I mean, you can't take straight losses. I mean, like I said, we've made up in the last 7 games, we've made up 1 point on the playoff teams and zero. We haven't jumped anyone. I mean, I've always said it's not necessarily points, it's teams. And when you have to depend on 6 teams to lose and you have to play outstanding, it's just really, really difficult. Really difficult.
I don't disagree, Grump. So let's talk a little bit about last night's game. And again, this is a little different style today, but we felt like we had to. I think that this game and lost to the Red Wings in the fashion we did, and we saw how anemic the offense looked yesterday. I think a lot of Islander fans came to that moment where like, holy shit, the season's over. I'm going to tune out. I don't need to watch any more Islanders games. Boop, the season's over. Right? Not what our podcast does. And I don't think you need to. I think there's, again, like, we're diehards, right? There's no doubt about it. Trust me, I experienced the miserable dark times of Garth Snow as our general manager, of the Milbury time period, right? There's no amount of bumps in the road or a little bit of up and down, a little bit of choppy waters that's going to make me go saying, hey, I'm going to run to the hill. No need to worry about the Islanders this season. Definitely not.
Yeah, and I've seen it longer than you have. Believe me, I remember the John Sims, a 4A player at best, and he was a regular playing big minutes and power play back in the 90s. I mean, it kind of just, it is what it is, right? But don't turn off the TV. And certainly don't stop listening to this podcast.
That's for sure.
But what can you do, right? What can you do when the season's over? To me, and they have to tell Barry, hey, play the young guys. Play the young guys. Why? We want to see if they're part of the solution going forward. That's the when you're a bad team, that's what you're gearing for the next year. Everybody who's over 30 should never even be consideration once the season's over. Not even a consideration, because you're not going to be part of the solution. So that's why I said I would want to watch the Salos, the Dobsons, the Wallstroms, the Bellows, the Pavilliers, the Barzals, the young guys who are going to be with us long term, hopefully. and see how they progress. And maybe, just maybe, Barry, loosen up the strings a little bit. Don't be afraid to play Mat Barzal with Oliver Wahlstrom and Keith Bellows just to see what it looks like. You never know. You never know. Yesterday he felt possessed to put Bailey back on the second line after he murdered the first line, and they figured, well, if he was playing first line with Mat Barzal, maybe something would happen with Lee and Barzal, because Bailey certainly doesn't win anything. And then he drops him down to the second, and how was that line? Not too good. Bailey's been terrible this year, honestly, and Barry doesn't call him out. Barry doesn't bench him. Barry doesn't bench Palmieri, who's been miserable as well. I mean, there are certain guys who aren't producing, and they don't sit. That should be an affront to every Islander fan. It really should be.
Well, yeah, and Wood of Films, I think you're right. Mayfield has been atrocious, and let's also look here at another positive. I think if the Islanders struggle this season, and the struggles continue, right? I know we had kept on talking about kicking the can down the road, right? We talked about how we always feel like how we're kicking the can down the road. When can we announce that this season might be a lost season? When can we officially declare that? Grumps put the stamp on it already. I look at these next 4 games as vital, and this is my reason why. If you come out, and here's the only reason, this is the only way we can look at it positively. You have 4 games. You've got to come, and I'm talking about have to come away with bare minimum 6, if not 7 points. You play the Bruins with an absolute decimated I mean, their perfection line is decimated with COVID outages. You've got to beat the Bruins. You play the Vegas Golden Knights, a very competent Vegas Golden Knights team. This is the last game on their road trip before they head back west. Maybe you catch them to where they're like, oh, we can't wait to get back to Vegas. Oh, man, get me off the East Coast. Maybe you can catch them. Then you have Montreal. You have got to beat Montreal. They're one of the worst teams in the NHL, worse than us by a country mile. And then you have the Washington Capitals. Over that 4-game stretch, you have got to come away with 6, if not 7 points. Anything less, that's where I'm throwing that season's over stamp on.
Okay, so the 14 out of 20 wasn't good enough. Now you're pushing it again.
I've delayed my ruling. We needed more evidence. We need a little bit more proof. So we need to delay it for 4 additional games. Just like I delayed how long it took us to get our merchandise out for the TJ and the Grumpy Old Man merchandise, which you can find in the link in the description below. I'm going to delay my stamp of the season and what I think the outcome is going to be an additional 4 games. Grump.
Well, that's going to be like, if you want to wait that long, that's like the middle of next 2 years from now. That's how long it took you to get that merchandise out. We can't wait until 2023 to put a good team on the ice or for you to declare the season dead.
Well, what a film saying here. Mayfield has been atrocious.
Yes, you already put that up.
Well,
you already mentioned that.
I want to talk about it. What is the positive, though? If the season, this is the point I was trying to get to. If the season is lost, I think Mayfield has your biggest return. We've mentioned it on other podcasts, and I'll say it here again. I think Mayfield, he's on a very manageable contract. He's less than $1.5 million a year for a top 4 defenseman. Remember, our team is defense oriented. So when we say, yeah, Mayfield struggled, on other teams, he would be looked like as a god and a savior. Holy crap, we've got a guy who actually plays defense.
Okay. Why has Mayfield been bad? He's playing with Adam Pelech. They are the same type of defenseman. Neither one of them moves the puck out of the zone.
Both are stay-at-home guys. You're right. Both are not guys that do a great job of what the outlet passes. They don't do a great job of head manning the puck. They struggle a little bit converting a defensive takeaway into offensive opportunity and chance. They do, but they're both defensive-centric, stay-at-home defensemen. And you're asking one of them to say, help generate some offense.
I just want to say, if Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac are worth a first and a fourth, and JG Pajot is worth a first, second, and a third if we won the cup, Mayfield has to be a first plus.
Yep.
For a trade. Maybe a first and a second. Minimum first and a third. And that's what you should be looking for. I'm not looking for players. I'm just not. And if Scott Mayfield, one of my favorites, as everyone knows, if he has to go to make this team better, sorry, Scott, I love you, but it's time to move on.
We all love Scott. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, I mean, for me, it would be tough to see Mayfield go, but if I'm getting a first-round pick plus, okay, that's a win for us.
And you talk about, right, let's take the clock back. Look at what we gave up for Andy Green. Think about it.
He's not even a rental. He's not even a rental.
That's one I'm going to make. Yeah. So, right, Andy Green, who was a rental, a 37-year-old, right, had plenty of playoff experience, a veteran defenseman, who was a rental at the time period, got a second-round pick back in return. Andy Green was well finished, man. He was cashed out when we traded for him. Given he played well, I think the year we traded for him in the playoff push, he did. And he did a good job last season. This year, it kind of slipping a little more. But, I mean, what do you expect from a defenseman that's, 35 plus when you trade for him? But Scott Mayfield, you're right. He's not a rental. He has an additional year of cost certainty and of team security for any team that trades for him at 1.5 at less than $1.5 million next year. Not only is he very affordable for your team this year, next year you've got your top four defenseman. You add a top four defenseman for $1.5 million a year. Less than that, actually.
You look at a team like Toronto, perhaps, right?
You could throw any team out there that can use defense.
But Toronto has to be in win now mode, don't they?
I think a lot of teams are win now, but yeah, Toronto has to win. They haven't won a playoff series in how many years?
And it's always been the defense. Now their defense, they're more committed to playing team defense this year. But tell me, Scott Mayfield wouldn't make them better. 2 first-round picks. That's my starting point for a negotiation. 2 firsts. You're going to have this guy for 2 years on the cheap. I mean, on the cheap.
1.5.
Yeah, okay. But you're getting for the playoff run and all next year. So for me, it's 2 years. It's 2 years. This year's playoff, next year's playoff.
And even if the thing is, people are going to say, well, grumpy TJ, how could you say that when he struggled? You look at Andy Green, you look at Jean-Gabriel Pageau. Jean-Gabriel Pageau was having a career season with the Ottawa Senators before he was traded to the Islanders. Yeah, that's correct. Scott Mayfield, even though he's struggling this year in the regular season, is a guy that, number one, looked fantastic last year in the playoffs, and that matters. You look for guys that have playoff experience. A lot of teams are looking for that. They're not looking to add Joe Schmo from the Alamo, who doesn't have any type of playoff experience. Scott Mayfield has been to the Eastern Conference Finals in back-to-back seasons. He knows what it's like to get there. He knows what it takes to be competing at the peak. So, again, even though he struggled this year, his play is much better translates to the NHL playoffs. People mention he's taken so many penalties this year. That's right. He's a guy who's not a fantastic skater, but in the playoffs, which is really, if you're making a move at the deadline, that's what you really want Scott Mayfield to perform is in the playoffs. In the playoffs, you get away with a lot of clutching, grabbing, and cross-checking that you don't get away with in the regular season. That gets called. You're going to have a lot less penalties from Scott Mayfield.
Yeah, but he's a proven playoff performer, without a doubt. And the whole thing is he's not a rental. Pageau, yeah, he was 40 points in 60 games with Ottawa. So what does that translate to? Like 55 points over the season? A first, a second, and a third for rental? This guy's not a rental, and he's cheap.
It was only a first and a second, with the third conditional being if we won the cup.
Right. Okay. So even a first and a second for a guy who played big minutes for Ottawa, big minutes, penalty kill, power play, everything, right? He still wasn't a point a game guy. He's a third line center. That's what he is, a third line center, a good third line center, really good, but he's a third line center and was a first and a second. This guy's Scott Mayfield's a proven top 4 defender, particularly in the playoffs. And I can't emphasize this enough. 2 years of team control. I mean, the end of this season and next season. So he's not even a rental, and his salary cap number is cheap. I mean, that makes him more valuable.
And the thing is, we have a guy that can backfill the Scott Mayfield spot. We do, right? You've got Dobson. He stepped in. You've got now, I know Robin Salo. I think they play the opposite side. Robin Salo plays the other side. But still, you've got Grant Hutton looked okay. You could find yourself, it might not be as cheap in the offseason, but you could find yourself a defenseman in the offseason if you feel like Grant Hutton's not for us as a right defenseman.
But here's the thing. As a bottom pairing guy, Grant Hutton is fine. I don't mind Grant Hutton playing 12 minutes a night. The whole thing is Dobson has to be your number 2 center, number 2 right defense. And I think, honestly, if actually given a chance, he's better than Ryan Pulock. If given a chance.
I was about to say, right? Because you've got it when Ryan Pulock's healthy. I'm sorry, Robin Salo and Noah Dobson both play the same right-handed defense spot that or right defenseman that Scott Mayfield plays. So you could just say, here you go, Robin Salo, this is yours. This is, I mean, you obviously got to earn the spot, but that's a guy who could slide right in. And you look at your right defenseman of Ryan Pulak, Noah Dobson, and Robin Salo. You know
Robin
what?
Sal
That's a stout. That is a stout right defenseman slot up and down those top three defenseman
Yeah, but
spots.
Robin Sal is really a left shot. He's a left-handed defenseman. That's what he is. He plays his offside, but he's a left-handed defenseman. But Grant Hutton could easily fill that role.
It's
But
kind
here's
of
the
it's
thing.
kind of listed. It's kind of listed as a right defenseman. But here's the thing: you can't go ahead and bounce those guys around a bit.
The whole thing is, I don't want to decimate the defense corps. If, like I said, when I say blow things up, I'm talking about the forward group. The defense group is fine for the most part.
I
Yes,
think the defense group will be better next season when you take Chara and Andy Green out of the picture, because there's no way Chara and Green are back next season. But when you take them out of the picture, I think next season you're looking at a more robust defense. I think that's the case.
And you might need to add somebody, and that's okay. You just can't play guys who can't skate anymore. That's the biggest issue. That's what you're seeing with Zdeno Chara, right? Love Chara, all-time great. Can't skate anymore. I mean, that's just it. And it hurts because it puts stress on the whole team defensive concept when one guy can't move his feet. I mean, he gets away with it on the power play because all you do is kind of stand around the box formation, right? So he can do that. But if he has to move, he just gets walked around on a regular basis. We see it every single game, 3, 4, 5 times a game. They just walk right around him. That's tough on his defense partner. Really, really tough. You get rid of him. You move off Andy Green. You move up Grant Hutton. I mean, and then maybe you augment with something else. And that's fine. I mean, because there's going to be a lot of moves that have to be made. But I'm willing to move Scott Mayfield for a first. For me, first and a second. I'd start conversations 2-1s, but I'm willing to take a first and a second for him.
He is going to, I think, net you the highest return for any defenseman if Mayfield's traded at the deadline. And it may come as a shock to some because they'll say, oh, well, Scott Mayfield doesn't actually produce points. Those are the people who don't watch Islanders games, who don't take into account this team needed a defenseman who's gritty, that has that playoff experience, that has the cost certainty. I think the cost certainty is the huge added bonus, especially if you're thinking, hey, my window is maybe 2 or 3 seasons. Holy crap, I can go ahead and, this year included maybe 1 additional or 2 additional seasons. I can add Scott Mayfield, a top 4 defenseman that fits into our cap picture today and next season. That's a huge plus.
For fans who don't realize how good or what Scott Mayfield brings to the table, shall I say, at the end of games last year in the postseason, who was out there on defense in the last minute and a half of tight games? Mayfield and Pellick. They were the 2 who were out there. I don't feel they're a good fit, but Barry thought those were his 2 most dependable defensemen in playoffs, putting them out there in the last minute. Putting them out there on the penalty kill. Those were the guys.
Gotcha. And then Eddie's saying here, no Sarnak in Bridgeport tonight. So maybe he's going to be getting the call up.
He should. And the first guy who sits? Josh Bailey. You want to know who else sits? Kyle Palmieri. He's been terrible. Terrible. How's that $5 million a year looking? Glad he bought that house. I'm glad we signed him because he bought a house. Remember that? Oh, he bought a house. That means he's signing back here. Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it looks more and more like Kyle Palmieri is a bad signing.
What did I tell you? F minus. There's a reason. F minus. There's a reason. Another guy, 30 years old, signing a 4-year deal, $5 million per. Why? You could have had Tarasenko for 2, as opposed to him for 4. Who's a better player?
You would have had to make a trade for Tarasenko.
That's fine. I'm willing to do that. I was willing to do that.
Okay. We don't know what the value. Well, we had heard we heard from some sources he was very cheap and affordable. We heard from some sources that Lou would not even start conversations with the St. Louis Blues unless they were willing to retain $3.5 million of the cap hit. So, so we don't know where it got off to. It could be one of those things that were dead in the water because Lou wanted what Lou wanted. And if they were not willing to bend, he was saying, nope, I'm not interested.
Well, when you're not willing to bend, you got a team that's bottom 5 in the league. Good job, Lou.
Emmanuel R. said, Grump, would you fire Trotz tomorrow?
No.
If you were general manager?
Nope. Nope. He's coaching out the rest of the year, but I'm talking with him sooner rather than later. Once here's the thing. They know what their team is capable of doing. They know deep down, they know they're not good enough to make the playoffs. They know. And it's not because of who we're missing, this, that, and the other thing. We're just not, we haven't played well all year. Even when everybody was healthy, we were not playing well. And we've never actually played well, except maybe one, maybe two games the whole year. We played Islander hockey. I'll say it again. I just feel that with the predominance of players on our forward group being over the age of 30, they've maybe taken half a step back. You add all those half steps on every single line. That's why our defense isn't as cohesive as it has been in the past. You add a 44-year-old to your defense core. I mean, I don't know what you're expecting. I mean, that's why I said we needed to do different things. Lou didn't think so. I was right. He was wrong.
Now, speaking about it, I think Jean-Gabriel Pageau has started to find his step a bit. Given, I don't think he looks like the player we've seen in the past. I think he has bounced back a bit. We talked about how slow he was at the start, right? I know Phil's Fax has mentioned that he looked like he had a groin issue. It's some sort of issue which was impeding him from skating last year in the playoffs. He struggled the first, 15, 16, 17 games of the season. I think he's looked more aggressive on the ice as of recent. I think he's looked, more competitive on the ice as of recent. I think we've seen more of the grit that we all came to know and love from Jean-Gabriel Pageau, the grit that Islander fans became enamored with, per se.
Yeah, but you're right. He hasn't looked like the same guy, right? And what's he, 28 years old? I mean, I'm just saying, when players get older, they don't get better. Not when they're closing on 30. And his style, it's all energy. I think Anthony Beauvillier is going to be a guy the same way. That once that speed, quickness goes, and it's not speed, it's quickness. The quickness is the first thing to go. You're not as quick in your reaction time. J.G. Pageau was like that. So is Anthony Beauvillier.
Jean-Gabriel Pageau is 29 years old. So
yeah,
just turned 29 recent.
Yeah, so he's closing on 32, right? 30 also, shall I say.
Well, he got it right on time. Grumpy old man with a new wig? Question mark.
Shit, man, I don't know. It's the same old wig. Best I got.
Jeffy said, after last night, I'm officially nervous about making the playoffs. I'll admit it now.
You don't need to be nervous. We're not making the playoffs.
Should Islander fans be feeling here's the thing, right? We've talked about it before. We've had fears and doubts before the season started. We've talked about it before. We had fears and doubts during the season earlier on. Now, should Islander fans start to, should they start ingratiating themselves with the idea that we might not or probably will not make the playoffs? Should Islander fans start trying to adopt that ideology?
If you're not there already, prepare yourself for the inevitable. That's all I have to say. Prepare yourself. And it's okay. I mean, you had to know, as a team whose core is over 30 years old for the most part, it wasn't going to last forever. That's why I wanted to move on earlier. Yeah, you might take a step back, but that's okay. You take a little step back, one step up, two steps back. That's what it kind of is for us right now. But, if we would have taken a couple of steps back, regrouped, maybe we'd be stronger with younger players now. That's not the path they took. They figured that, they had enough to win a championship. I didn't feel that way. I feel we benefited from the COVID season and the shortened season. Now the chickens come home to roost, Bobby Boucher. Now you're seeing it, right? People forget how poorly we played down the stretch in those other seasons because we run out of gas. Tough style to play with older players. It's tough for younger players to play that style. Really tough for older guys. It's okay. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with rebuilding. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you have the right guy in place. Lou Lamoriello, I feel, is the right guy. I don't know if Barry Trotz is. I'd want a coach who emphasizes team speed and aggressive forecheck. That's the way the NHL is going. Because I'll tell you what, last night's game, Detroit is not more talented than we are. They have some younger players who are really talented. But what did they have that we didn't? Speed, pressing. They're not a good team. I know TJ loves them. They're not a good team. Defensively, we had how many chances did they give up 2-on-1s? How many chances in the first period and early in the second?
Even
I
had a
mean,
3-on-1.
yeah, and my God, yeah,
I didn't. I'm
I don't
sorry
even
to
want to
give
talk
you
about that.
yeah. But here's the thing.
You
As
got
I
it.
said before, Detroit is a good team, not a great team. If best case scenario for Detroit, they sneak in at the 8th spot. In all likelihood, they don't make the playoffs this year. Next year, they will make the playoffs. 2 years from now, they might. They're going to be one of the top dogs in the NHL. 2
In the
years from
last 2-3 years, Detroit is a team we absolutely feasted on. And and you say, well, 6 months. Last year we would have blown Detroit out. And it's not that they've gotten appreciably better. Yes, they have the Cedar Kai and they got Raymond.
It's Raymond,
Okay.
yeah.
But they're not great. They're good. They're on the come, but we've taken a step back. There's no way we should have lost last night. No way. No way.
And another positive too, right? We have a lot of cap space. Remember those moves that Lou Lamoriello made that were supposed to really allow us to make a big push at the trade deadline so we could add a whole bunch of pieces, right? We got rid of Johnny Boychuk's contract, right? We got rid of Andrew Ladd's bad contract, gave up, 2 seconds to get rid of Andrew Ladd's bad contract so we can add additional pieces this year at the trade deadline. We're letting all that cap accumulate. Well, maybe we can also be a third party member of a deal if somebody needs additional cap space at the deadline, right? We're going to have 16 some odd million of free available dollars at the trade deadline. So we could add somebody to the team, somebody to the roster that, is looked at as a toxic asset to another team if they need to free up some space, if it's going to come into return for us, some sort of, compensation in the form of draft capital. That's also another positive. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it can happen.
Right. Take a guy who makes a lot of money and take a first or second round pick with him for them to get rid of him. Absolutely. What are you doing? Maybe it's the last year of his deal. Maybe they want to make a move for somebody else. You take on that toxic asset, you get draft picks, and then you cut them loose after that. That's what you should do. That's what Detroit has done for the last 2 years, right? They've taken on big contracts and brought in draft picks as well.
A second
That's the way you do it.
this or that, and again, again, the draft is crapshoot. You got to draft in order to be a competent team, and I think our drafting has been questionable. We've got a lot of pieces that from the Garth Snow era that are still on this team. So, I'm sorry, I went all over the place. But Warzone Senior just said, "Go ahead, Grump."
Yeah, and that's fine. But you know what? You got to have more kicks at the can. And like I said, if you're going into rebuild, what's the one thing we don't have asset? We don't have a whole lot of draft picks. We don't have a whole lot of talent in the minors. So what do? You accumulate draft picks. That's how you do it. And you restock the cupboards. That's what you do it. That's how you speed up the recovery process.
This year is a really, really strong draft class. And I know Grump says we don't have a lot in cupboards. We don't. I don't think we have a rebuild. I think we have a retool. But, as you're retooling, right, you always have to be looking and making sure you can backfill positions through your retool. So, I mean, adding, in a very, very stout draft class, if you're able to add picks, it's only going to work out well. Hopefully, as long as you can select the right guys. Warzone Senior Citizen said, who does Ledecky have to pay off for the number 1 overall pick in this upcoming summer?
I don't know. Whoever used to be in charge of the Knicks when they got Patrick Ewing.
Oh, man. It looks like, we can pencil ourselves in to be a lottery selection. A lottery.
Yeah, but we're not going to be one of the bottom 3 teams. We're going to be like where we always are. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just like, but we don't get on the super high guy. We get the Michael Del Coles.
Ugh,
we get the Scott Sissions.
Emmanuel R., I don't agree. I hate to say it, but I think Tortorella might be a good choice. They need someone to kick their ass. Here's the thing. I think Tortorella works for young teams or younger teams that don't have direction, teams that don't have strong character. I think the locker room, people have asked, hey, has the locker room tuned out Barry Trotz? I don't think they have. Tortorella is a guy that gets tuned out mighty quick, and Tortorella is a guy that, if you're drinking the Kool-Aid, you're great, but as soon as you stop, it becomes sour and nasty, like a hangover on a Sunday morning, like in nobody's time. Quick.
I believe it was Tommy Baffey who mentioned us that one game when Mat Barzal didn't play a whole lot of minutes, he was screaming at Barry after the game. And that's problematic. That's problematic.
Matthew S., I agree. We're about a week away. See, I kicked it down the can one more week, Grumpy. I said these next few games, that's where it is, Grump.
To me, I'm exploring I'm laying the groundwork. If I'm Lou Lamoriello, I'm laying the groundwork now. I'm laying the groundwork now. Much better, TJ.
Look, I got my extra button. I can't get it over my head if I don't have it all the way buttoned off like that. And Manuel R. said, do you guys think that we need a retool or rebuild? Whichever you choose, can you elaborate on what moves you'd make? Grump, I'll let you take this first because I know you and I disagree on this.
I'm in rebuild mode. I'm in rebuild for certain. And you have to find takers for your toxic assets. Again, it's the same thing I've been preaching for years and years. Stop re-signing guys in their 30s to long-term deals because now you're stuck with them. So you have to get rid of them. But what we could do, we do have a lot of cap space. If we could move an Anders Lee, keep some cap just to get a first-round pick, sell it however you have to. To me, Josh Bailey has no market. Cal Clutterbuck, move him. Okay? If somebody wants Char, if somebody wants Green, move them. I know that the return will be minimal, but you know what? Even if you're getting a bunch of fifth-round draft picks, no problem. You can package them to move up in another round.
Okay.
I'm ready. I'm ready to embrace the suck.
Here's the thing. This is where you and I agree big time. You mentioned earlier, what are the positives? We have a lot of the young pieces and a lot of pieces that are entering or near their prime that could really be cornerstones of this team and this organization. You say, let's embrace the suck. I think that's you having realized the Islanders have been shitty for so long. That's the only thing you're accustomed to. I think a retool is all this team needs. Goaltender is set. Defense is set. What we need are forwards. What we need is goal scoring. You've got guys who are stepping in that look like they can do that job. And again, Atu Ratu is probably a good solid 2 years away, right? After this year, he's maybe 1, if not 2 additional years away. All I'm saying is I wouldn't try to get rid of Anders Lee. And this is my reason and rationale. We've got cap space this season. This offseason, we have cap space. I wouldn't move him if you don't have to. And it's going to be worst case scenario, or let's say in the best case scenario, we find Anthony Beauvillier lights the world on fire. He was just going through a little bit of a cold spurt, and he plays fantastic the rest of the season and gives you every reason to believe that he could be a bona fide top 6 guy. And let's say you're able to get a left winger, a natural left winger. It's not ideal, but Anders Lee is versatile, and he could play up and down the top 3 lines. I'm not saying I would give away. Think about it. You would consider giving away a first-round pick to get rid of Anders Lee and retaining cap hit on the 4 or 5 years he's got left.
I'm not saying
I think he's not able to move. I think his contract is too big, and he's also got the no trade clause.
Okay. Sell it to him. Sell it to him. You've been a loyal Islander for all these years. We're going in a different direction. You're not. Guess what? You are not. This you have. And if his thing, you got to play hardball. You got to play. You're not part of our plan going forward. You're just not. And if you watch last night's game, without Mat Barzal, he's an absolute zero out there. He is totally dependent on someone else creating for him. What he does, he does well. Stand in front of the net. There are teams that are going to say, you know what? We need that net front presence. And I'm not saying that you're going to get a king's ransom for him. I'm willing, and I'm not giving a first-round pick to get rid of him.
You just said maybe you've got to pair up a first-round pick to get rid of him. That's verbatim what you said.
No, that's not what I said. That's what you said. I didn't say that.
Go back, ladies and gentlemen, and listen to it. That's what you said, Grump.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm not giving up anything to get rid of Anders Lee. Someone will give you a pick, is my point. And what I'm saying is, if I have to chip in some money to make that deal happen, I'm willing to do it. That's what I'm willing to do. You have the cash. If you offload some of these bloated contracts of the veterans, you're going to have money. No. Okay.
Here, Grump. Okay. So what are you willing to do? You're willing to retain? You're willing to retain what, half of Anders Lee's contract?
$3 million a year. $3 million a year. Why not?
For the hold on. For the next 5 years, you're willing to retain $3 million a year?
Make it $2 million a year. That's fine. You're going to find somebody saying, "I'll give Anders Lee $5 million a year." Here's the thing: you think that you think just because he sucks for us, other people looking at, man, he's a beast in front of the net. That's what we need.
It's only 4 years. I'll correct myself. It's only 4 years he's got left in the contract.
The other teams, man, he's a beast in front of the net. He gives us a hard time. That's what we need to put us over the top. I think that's very, very much a contract that if you chip in some money, like Lou wanted them to do for Tarasenko, that's something that you can do. Yes.
Okay. All I'm going to say is this: he's got the no move. He makes a lot of money, and he's got 4 years left on a contract. There's a lot of obstacles. He's not going anywhere. You keep dreaming it. It's not going to happen. I got a comment to read for you, Grumpy. Okay, you keep going. You keep going back and forth on this. We are never going to agree on this. Go ahead, though.
Okay. All I'm saying is,
show, and I got to go to the bathroom. So
okay, a shocker. All I'm saying is that if you have to at least broach the subject, just to say it's not going to happen, and it's just not going to happen. If you approach it, you never know what can happen. That's all I'm saying. And if you also approach,
we should ask the asking price on Connor McDavid too. That being said, Scott L. I'm just saying, Grump, you talk about things that are highly unlikely. That is a highly unlikely scenario.
People are asking what I would do. That's what I would do.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
I think, again, a retool is probably better. I think there are free agents again. If
no one will come here. No one is coming here. You said we need forwards. What do we need? About 8 forwards?
No.
They're not coming here.
We don't need 8 forwards. All we need is our top 6 to produce. That we have adopted this style that we need 4 lines of total offense. We need 4 lines that can produce and contribute. Yeah, that's great in an ideal scenario. But guess what? Most teams have their top 6 produce all of their points, if not most, if not all of their points. They don't require their 4th line to produce points, and they don't really require their 3rd line to consistently produce points. We need our top 6 to provide the majority of points for our team, which we don't do. That is what we need. That's the style we need. We need our top 6 and our top line producing a massive amount of points.
Okay, then we need 5 players, 5 forwards, because there's only one guy of our whole forward group who's worth a damn. Everybody else sucks.
Okay, so Oliver Wahlstrom sucks. Good to know.
He's not top. He's not a top 6 guy.
Okay, Oliver Wahlstrom's not a top 6 guy now.
Right now, he's not.
Ridiculous. Okay, come on. I'm not even doing that. And Brock Nelson's competent. So that's all I'm going to say.
Competent. Competent. Okay.
He's a good. I like Scott. I like Brock Nelson more than you do. I know you don't like him, but I'll leave this comment for you, and I'm going to go. Okay. Scott L says Barry actually called out Palmieri and Invisibailey, but will he healthy scratch them? Not in Barry's world.
Right. I just want to touch on Brock Nelson is competent. I mean, competent, is that what you're looking for in a team? Oh, well, they're competent. No, you should be striving for more. Okay, so Barry calls out Palmieri and Invisibailey, and they should get called out. They've been miserable. Will he bench him or healthy scratch him? Probably not. He only does that with young guys. Barzal is beyond scratching at this point. But other than that, who's he going to bench? Bellows, Wahlstrom, and Beauvillier. That's it. You're never going to see him bench the older guys. I keep on saying, whenever a guy gets benched, what happened? He comes back with more fire. Look with Beauvillier, right? I think if Barzal was healthy, Beauvillier still would have been out last game. That said, Beauvillier had to play. He showed a little something. He's streaky as hell. Palmieri and Invisibailey, I just love that name. They need to get benched. Why not? Let's see if it lights a fire under their keister. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe it makes them step up their game. Maybe it makes them step up their game. Right now, it's not there for either one of them. So we'll see what Barry does. I don't believe it. He mentioned Chara. He didn't even mention Chara by name, talking about that second goal they gave up. He just says, well, we did a pass that didn't have much chance of succeeding. And then it comes back to 2-on-1 and they score. If it was a young guy, he would have absolutely called out the young guy by name. Dobson needs to be better there, or Salo needs to be better there. Wahlstrom needs to be better there. Matt needs to be smarter on this. But if it's an old guy, never calls him out by name. I'm actually stunned. I didn't hear him actually call those 2 guys out by name in yesterday's post game presser.
leave you
But
alone.
maybe that's a step in the right direction.
I leave you alone for 2-3 minutes, Grump, and I hear you immediately say, "Is competent what you want as a second line guy?" Here's the thing. Brock Nelson's more than competent. I say competent because that is the lowest you could ever rate him, Grump.
No,
Brock Nelson's a good second line center. I don't give a shit what you say. That's my belief. In your world, the worst he could be is a competent second line center. That's the absolute worst he could be. He's a guy who is accelerated under the Barry Trotz system and has been much more consistent with Barry Trotz. So it's not just competent. I'm saying competent for your sake. That is the lowest you can rate him as. I think he's a good second line center. That also being said, you said he won't bench any of the older guys. He'll never be. Okay. He benched Matt Martin because of lack of performance. And I think
Matt Martin's back.
I think Ross Johnson was better and is better than Matt Martin at this point. Matt Martin is cashed, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's essentially an even swap, Matt Martin and Ross Johnson, in my opinion. But
why was it necessary to sign him?
I don't think we'll ever see Kyle Palmieri or Josh Bailey benched. Never.
Why was it necessary to sign Matt Martin to a 4-year deal at 32 years old? Why was that necessary? You didn't need to do that. Give him a 1-year deal. Play him on a series of 1-year deals. When you can't play anymore, you don't get re-signed. Stop giving these guys so much freaking term. They're in their 30s and they're finished. And he just throws away years like they don't mean anything. That's why we're in the trouble we're in. That is the reason.
Well, what a film says, a great setup player is only as good as the players he's setting up to. I don't disagree.
True.
Here's the thing. Josh Bailey is a guy who's a setup man. That's what he is. He's a setup guy. I think he's a good setup guy on a third line. That's it.
Oh, third liner. He's a third liner.
He's a really, really good setup man on a third line. And again, just like I said with Andy Bavilla, I think he's on an ideal team and a team that's really, really talented. He's a third line left winger. He could be a streaky scorer. He could provide offensive pop. He's gritty. He could be feisty on the puck. In an ideal scenario, that's what he is. He's a guy who's not going to be a top 6 guy, I don't think.
I don't even think Josh Bailey has played like a competent third liner this year. He's been just awful. Awful.
There's no doubt about it. I'll tell you. Jeremy Ford also saying, I hope what the Islanders have learned is that Varlamov is expendable and that $5 million needs to be put towards the first line talent or a Lindholm type of defenseman. Sorokin has been great. I'll tell you. Now, that's a guy, too. If the price is right and if it's not like Sorokin has a conniption if Varlamov leaves, which I don't think he will, right? He's going to be earning – his next contract is going to be earning a freaking huge check. I'm letting you know that heads up. He's going to earn a huge, huge, monstrous contract next time he's got a chance for an extension.
They got him on the cheap. This last contract. I mean, I just hope that the GM doesn't think, okay, well, things aren't as bad as they look this year. Maybe we can, make a couple little moves and be back on top. It's not the case.
I think a couple little moves is all it takes.
I don't.
But here's the thing. It takes the adoption, not only a couple little moves, but it takes the coach adopting the fact that they need to play no adoptions in the Robin Sallows. We cannot say, hey, we're going to find a Chara 2.0 out there to roll out here in top 4 minutes. Hey, we're going to find an Andy Green 2.0 to roll out and play top 4 minutes. We have to have the coach buy in and adopt the fact that you're going to have to live with some of the lumps, bumps, and bruises that comes with playing some of the younger guys. Robin Salo is the future of this team. No adoptions are the future of this team.
Okay, stop Robin Salo's the future of the team. He's an average defenseman right now. He's not as good as Noah Dobson. He just isn't.
I said both of them.
No, you said Robin Salo is the future of this team, is what you said.
And I said Noah Dobson is the future of this team. Maybe if you listened.
I don't want you to. Okay, what has Robin Salo really shown you that tells you, man, he's a standout? He hasn't shown me that at all.
Robin Salo showed me that he's another guy who was put the puck towards the net mentality. He's another guy that does, I think he's got great vision and he's got crisp passes and he's a fantastic skater. That's what Robin Salo has showed me so far.
He showed me that he has the ability to be a competent, maybe a second line defender. That's what he's shown me. Nothing more, nothing less.
Look at that. What a film saying, Grump, you're looking comfortable. TJ, take a note. Grumpy. Know you know how to wear it. You know how to wear it, Grump.
Thank you, Wood.
And Brian P saying, when you have a goalie as talented like Sorokin, you can afford to play a more attacking style. We need a younger, faster roster and a little bit of a different system. I do agree.
That's
That's what the thing is, right? It's not, we don't need a full rebuild. If you have the coach adopt, I still like the style, generally speaking, that Barry Trotz has. I would like to see us take a few more offensive chances and to say, hey, I know we've been let's say we're focused 85% of everything we focus on as defense. Let's take that back a little bit. Let's work on those headman passes a little bit. Let's work on breaking out of the zone a little bit more preemptively. Let's take that back from 85 to 70. You've got a goalie who can stand on his head. It's not like with the prior goalies we've had with the Robin Leonards or the Thomas Grices or the Varlamovs. You've got a goalie who can legitimately stand on his head and stops these unbelievable shots and opportunities because he's so athletic and talented. Let him earn his money. He already looks like a fantastic star back there in net. You know what? His numbers might not be as good, but we're in the business of winning games, not in the business of personal stats.
I want to say thank you to BP, one of the vaunted members of Isles Misery Rated R. I always have to give a shout at them because TJ certainly won't. But one thing that we need to do, we need to get faster in our defense core. Too many slower guys out there. And yes, Chara, you have Green, Pellick is no speedster, Mayfield is no speedster, neither is Ryan Pulak. Need to get faster.
Mm-hmm. That also being said, Grump, it's time to read our ad. Grump, do you know who our advertiser is, Grump? You know who supports?
DraftKings.
That's right. It's DraftKings, grumpy old man. Today's podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Football fans, I'm sure we all love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, you'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to win to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get in on all the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code THPN and bet just $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum of a $5 deposit and $1 wagers required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Nice job, TJ.
Oh, Grump, taking a little sip off the grape drink.
Took a little pull off my grape drink. That's right.
Oh man, I'll tell you. Tony Cheese said, still need to score goals with our forwards. I like Barry, but from the enlightenments provided by TJ and the Grumpy Old Man, we won't win with him. We won't score goals with him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is Barry, like I said, everything is a process. Barry, are you willing to do a few of these things? If the answer is no, you move on. We need to go in a different direction. The NHL is a game with all the rule changes predicated on speed, skill position, and being able to move the puck out of your defensive end. That's what the whole game is predicated on now. If Barry's not willing to at least try to do some of those things, it's time to move on.
Absolutely, Grump. Also have a comment here from Anthony R. saying here, speaking of Bellows, why did Trotz bench Bellows in the second period? I didn't know that was the case.
Yeah, he didn't play hardly at all. He played less than 10 minutes last night. I mentioned that. I think I told you that during the game. I said, where the hell's Bellows?
I think
and Wallstrom. Because if Wallstrom, he played like the last 4 minutes when they pulled the goalie or whatever it was, he was out there when they were down by 2, and then the rest of the maybe a little spot off the ice. He got 13 minutes last night. He didn't play either one of those guys. The only guy to get less minutes was Martin. But by the end, Martin had more minutes than Bellows. Bellows is the only forward under 10 minutes.
Yeah, I tell you though, I think that the line looked good, and that's one of those items we're going to be watching for tomorrow. I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled for it. Grumpy old man Tony Cheese saying the only positives are the COVID tests. I can't believe I'm the first one to that joke.
Because it's so tasteless, Tony, that even I wouldn't do it. No, I'm only kidding. Actually, it's a pretty good joke. It's pretty good.
And what up, man? I look at it like this. We're a podcast that comes out every single week and calls exactly what we see. And again, I think that sometimes that could be a little tiring for people. I think sometimes it could be a little mentally exhausting. We still are going to do it, but I wanted to give some of the positives up front. We sprinkle in the positives usually after we get out a rant and get out some of the angry portions, but we did it a little different today. We got some of the positives early, and then we talked a little bit about the negatives again, as always.
Hold on. So what did you say? You said something at the beginning that it can become tiresome. So
I'm
the
just saying,
truth is tiresome. So
yeah,
you want us to lie to the people so they are awake?
no. I don't want to. I don't want to lie to anybody. I don't. I'm just saying, right? There are always goods and there are always bad. There are a lot more bad than there is good at this time period. So we just hey, let's look at some of the good to start because there's a lot more bad to talk about than good at this time period.
Yeah, the good is the youth and hopefully giving them a legitimate chance at the end of the season. That's the good for me.
I wouldn't even say that far in. I would say, I mean, you could start. Here's the thing. If you, let's say you only win one of these next 4 games, oh shit, time to do a full on assessment. I mean, we don't need to see anything else, right? If you only win one of the next 4, I don't need to see us continuing to say, hey, we're a playoff caliber team. We can make the
I
playoffs if we do
I
X, Y, Z. It's just not going to happen.
I do like how you made your how the Islanders could win 3 of the next 4. I did like how you did that.
I was about to say that's seriously. I did the homework. I did the research on a team. Right, Boston's kind of decimated with the COVID bug, and you've got right. How many times did we hear that as an excuse when before the 13-game road trip ended, we got steamrolled by the Florida Panthers? Oh well, maybe they mentally checked out. They're ready to go back home. We could say the same thing. Maybe Vegas will be checked out on Sunday. Maybe they're ready to check back. Check back to Vegas. They're ready to get back to the West Coast. And Montreal's the worst team. We're the second worst team in the NHL behind the Arizona Coyotes. You got a true test against the Washington Capitals. So
In Major League Baseball, they call what Vegas the getaway day. That's what they're just hoping.
yeah,
Day game, yeah, maybe. Hey, let's get back home. We'll see.
yeah. And Dave F saying, "What's up, fellas? Yeah, let's see what the kids have."
True that.
Yeah, I tell you. Absolutely. Whoa, Grumpy! Look at that. We have a Twitch comment.
Ava
Honestly,
Reagan 15. How you doing?
Emmanuel R saying, I think we're still at the stage of addition by subtraction. If Lou wants to keep Lee and reduce his ice time, he's not a top line player. Bailey, Martin, and Clutterbuck are all done. It's time to move on from those players. The fortunate thing is, right, Clutterbuck is gone. You should not re-sign Cal Clutterbuck after this season. That opens up space, opens up a little bit of cap. Lee, unfortunately, after this year, has an additional 4 years left on a contract, I believe. That's not great. Bailey is towards the tail end of his contract, thank God. And Martin's a guy that should not be seeing consistent ice time at this point.
He never should have been signed to a 4-year extension. When you get if you're a 32-year-old fourth line grinder, you're on a year-to-year deal. How do guys like that get 4-year deals? How does Casey Zizekas get a 6-year deal?
Because the Rangers really wanted him. He was considered
Goodbye.
Rangers.
See you later. Good luck. Who cares? He's finished. He's been nothing this year. He's been terrible. That's what happens. A guy with that, just another example of just what I'm talking about over and over again. Signing guys who are just grinders, mucking grinders, signing them to long-term deals. I've never seen a guy make a fourth line center make that much money and that much term in my life.
Yeah. Nick D said, TJ Grumpy, how are you guys doing? I'm positive that Barry is insane. And with the same players, juggling shit up line combinations, bench everyone over 30.
Okay. Nick, I would agree with that, except I don't think we have enough players under the age of 30 to make that work, even in the minors. because our minor leagues are filled with guys over their 30s too. Don't ask me why. Developmental league, why would we want to develop young players? I don't know.
Brian B said, I'm tired of Trotz now. Time to move on. We need a younger team moving forward. I want to bring up a point I mentioned 2 years ago. And I mentioned last year, and I'll mention again this year. The Barry Trotz style of hockey is a boring and arduous one to watch. It's tough. And what did we say? Not entertaining hockey. So why do you tune in? The only reason Islander fans tune in is because you win games. People aren't tuning in for the entertainment value of the Islanders. It's not the case.
True.
When you're losing games, the thread gets mighty thin for Barry.
Very true. 100% agree.
And as you continue to struggle, it's going to just compound. BP saying back to reality, though, as long as Lou still employs that horrendous Brent Thompson in the AHL for the AHL affiliate, ruining every prospect. As long as Lou and Barry hate young players and employ a 1999 system, the team will continue to struggle.
That's the biggest thing is the second part of that statement. Yep. It's not 1990s anymore. It's not 2000. It's 2021. The game has changed. If you're not capable of changing with it, it's time to move on. You're seeing other teams kind of use what Barry Trotz has done with younger, more skilled players, but you're seeing them incorporate more of a defensive type system, but not like Barry does. And you're seeing them be successful because it is a successful system, particularly in the regular season, not so much in the postseason.
Got a comment here also. John Smith saying the only positive this season is about a quarter of the way over.
Oh, there you go. There's a positive. There you go. I wish I would have come up with that one.
I'll tell you.
It's actually more than a quarter of the way over.
Well, it is. But I mean, we're right around the quarter mark, and I tell you, hasn't been good.
You know how your team is bad? If you look at the standings and you look at goal differential, when you're like bottom 5 in the league in goal differential, I don't care who you are, you're going to be a bottom 5 team.
I thought you were about to say, you're a bad team when you look up the NHL standings, you've got to go all the way to the bottom of the paper to say, oh, there's our team.
You know that you're a bad team when you have to scroll so far to the bottom that you get a blister on your finger. How about that?
Oh, good gracious. You want to hear something funny too? Talking about goal differential, as you mentioned, Grump, the Islanders are the 6th worst team in goal differential in the NHL, minus 21. The only teams that have a worse goal differential than the New York Islanders at this point of the podcast of December 15th, the Montreal Canadiens, minus 43, the Buffalo Sabres, minus 22, and the Western Conference, you have the Arizona Coyotes, the Chicago Blackhawks. That's it. Oh, I'm sorry. There's only 4 teams worse than us. We're the 5th worst team in goal differential at minus 21.
And we were able to beat those teams, just nobody above them.
We have, think about it, we've got a lot of times we still have to play the Washington Capitals this season. We play the Rangers this season, the Pittsburgh Penguins this season. We've got a lot of tough opponents scheduled that we still have to go through. TJP.
Looking at a positive, though, if we beat those teams in regulation, it's like a 4-point swing.
That is true.
Now, if you lose, you might as well just throw dirt on top of yourself. Go back in the locker room, just shovel dirt on you. You're done.
And TJP said, what's the point of tanking if Barry won't play the younger talent? I think he will. When things get so bad where there's no way they're making the playoffs, I think he will start to incorporate and play the younger players.
There's a difference between tanking and going in a different direction. There's a difference. Do you really think sitting the old guys who've done nothing all year is tanking? I think that's a prudent approach. If you're not producing, you sit, and we're going to give somebody else a chance, a young, hungry player. That's what they should do.
And then LGI said, one guy I want to try to sign as a free agent is Johnny Gaudreau. Imagine Mat Barzal and Johnny Gaudreau, the amount of speed. Be great.
Okay, why would Johnny Gaudreau want to come and play for Barry Trotz? Because that's going to be my answer from here on out. Whenever somebody says an offensive-minded forward, why would you want to come here for that? Johnny Gaudreau is not a two-way player. He's an offense guy, and he's a really good offensive player. I love Johnny Gaudreau.
People are going to say, well, the pay, grumpy old man. The Islanders can pay a king's ransom for Johnny Gaudreau. In all likelihood, there will be other teams that are playoff caliber teams or teams that will allow him to employ and play the Johnny Gaudreau style of hockey that can offer a very commiserative or very comparable dollar amount on his contract. So, we used to say, oh, is the arena? Oh, it's because, other teams were able to offer more. Well, we can offer more now. Our ownership has showed they're more than willing to be up against the salary cap ceiling every single season if it will result in better production on the ice and more money in their pocket in the form of, fannies in the seats. But, that is a good question. Why would Johnny Gaudreau, a guy who is 100% offensive minded, a guy who says, I would sacrifice defensive performance for offensive numbers, why would he come to play for Barry Trotz, where he knows he's going to have to change it up? And why would Barry Trotz want a guy like that? Or let me backtrack it. Why would he want to come to the Barry Trotz system? I think that's a better question.
He won't. Like I said, it's a rhetorical question. No one who plays offense and is, that's their game is going to want to come play for Barry Trotz.
Grumpy, Adam Sandler, the Adam Sandler is in our YouTube comments, Grump. This is Adam Sandler, the guy out there in Cali who makes all the fantastic movies, said, can you speak more about Trotz and Lou not being on the same page?
That's what someone heard. Did Phil talk about that? Too late now. I just outed him. I thought that's what Phil's fax said, that he heard that they were not on the same page.
Well, no. I don't think it was. No, Grumpy. That was not Phil's. That was not Phil's facts. What he's talking about, no, we didn't hear that from anybody. It was just what we were talking about and opining about the comments on Golashev.
Okay.
Well, we wanted to explain again. We talked a little bit about the Golashev. I was giving you a chance to talk about how they weren't.
I thought Phil came out and said that. I didn't know if he said it on the podcast. My bad.
No, Grump, no, he didn't even say that to us off air. I think your mind's just going nuts.
I think he told me off the air. He doesn't include you in things that, require intelligence.
Now, are you trying to tell me you and Phil have a secret little group message that you go
when
ahead
we
and
talked after the podcast, because you had to go make, one of your multiple bathroom breaks, I think we talked about that.
Yeah, no, we didn't. I was on the whole time. But he's talking about here Anatoly Golashev, grumpy old man.
Yeah, well, like I said, Lou signs a guy, Barry won't play him. You feed him a line of bull. Yes, you're the first guy up. We want you. You're not going to be down there long. And he never has a shot. And then you hear Barry come out and say, well, he hasn't produced at this level before. Well, you're the only team he's ever played for. If you're not going to give him a shot, how is he going to get that chance?
That's a really shitty job of the summation of the Anatoly Golashev story, Grump. My God. What happened was they signed him. Lou said, we want you to be an everyday player. He heard rosy remarks, not only from Lou, but also from Barry in preseason. He was sent down to Bridgeport. They said he was next man up. That being said, when injuries hit, and even when COVID hit, he wasn't until he was third guy up. That also being said, when COVID hit, they played multiple other AHLers over Anatoly Golashev. He was supposed to play one evening. They had his jersey in the locker room. He didn't make the roster or didn't make the starting lineup. And the reason behind it was coach's choice. So when I hear that, right, and you hear that Lou Lamoriello said, no, we still want you to be here. You're still going to play macho minutes for us up in the NHL. That's not the case. I think there is a disconnect because, I mean, it's one of three things, right? Anatoly Golashev is either lying, which I think was unlikely. You've got Lou Lamoriello, who was just blowing smoke up Anatoly Golashev's ass. But here's the other thing.
I don't believe that.
I was about to say, professional athletes always get smoke blown up their ass. Every single one of them has always they've run across, at least at one point of time in their career or another, they've run across a point to where some coach or general manager has said, we're going to do this, and they don't do that because they never had intentions to do it. They usually are pretty good judges of distinguishing who is lying to me and who is not. Because you will always, I guarantee you, at one point in time in your career, you will run across a guy who blows smoke up your ass and lies to you. And it's usually easier to spot those guys in the future. So I think I think Lou legitimately wanted to play him and thinks that he is a player that is of the caliber of the NHL level for the Islanders at the moment. And Barry just didn't see it. I think there's just a disconnect on that.
Yeah. And Lou is not a guy who's going to blow smoke up your ass. Absolutely not. He's about as straight shooter as you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely grumpy old man. And we've also got a comment here. John Smith saying, yeah, I'm excited about Ratu too. But if we're hanging our hat on a 52nd overall pick, we're in trouble.
True.
Yep. I think that he's a guy who, when you look at him though, he's performed well, 2 years before the draft. I think the team and Carpot that he was with just didn't fit his style. Stylistically didn't fit his game. Right? So we're looking at there are other guys stylistically where I don't think the Barry Trotz system fits their game. You wonder, like, point production wise, right? Anywhere else in the league, Mat Barzal would be putting up a point a game pace. Anywhere else,
At least.
At least. Some places he would put up a lot more points, but he sacrifices to be here.
Who knows how much longer?
Now, what do you think there's a real legitimate chance of him leaving? I think they'd throw the kitchen sink to keep Mat Barzal. They would do anything to keep him, and I think they should. He's fantastic. He's the greatest player on this team by a country mile. He's the greatest skater on this team right now by a country mile. Maybe, you could argue Sorokin looks fantastic. He's the next coming of Patrick Waugh. I would say not yet, but I'd say that I think Barzal is the best skater on this team without a doubt.
Yeah, but at some point, it has to, you know what? Whenever somebody gets hurt, they come off my line, and I got to play with garbage. That has to be frustrating for him.
And we appreciate this comment here, Wood of Films. He's saying, TJ, I love you like a son. My son listens to the Saturday podcast when he visits. He stands up for you all the time, but Grumpy gets his attention all the time. Love you guys. Love you too, Wood.
That's great that he and his son listen to the show.
Absolutely.
And not just because they listen to the show, but just that they get to spend time together. That's really good.
Yeah, absolutely. The podcast is meant to bring Islander fans together, even though if it's against, in one day ideology or thought. So bringing community of people together that, how often do you always get to talk Islanders with your friends? Yeah, you did the wrong thing, Grump.
That's okay. Sorry.
Oh man, I love that though. Grumpy turns off the turns off the video of the cough instead of mute.
It reminds me.
Saw it ahead of time.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's it remind you of?
Went to see a wrestling event years ago when Shawn Michaels and Triple H were part of the Generation X. It was a pay-per-view. It was in Charlotte. And, they always had the girls used to, not on the TV, but after they lift their shirts up and, show up their boobies. And, they were doing it. Of course, they're showing it on the big screen too. And I'm like, Nick, I said, close your eyes. And he goes like this. I'm like, not quite. The warden did not appreciate that, by the way.
I can't. That's hilarious. I saw you go to like a blank avatar. I'm like, what the hell is Grumpy doing? And you go, I was like, oh man, I love it though. I love it, Grump. I love the story about Nick. Alexander saying, hey guys, good evening. Just getting off of work, driving home, listening to you. Have a great evening. Hope you guys are having a safe and blessed day. For certain we are, Alexander. Saying back to you.
Yes.
Reciprocate the good vibes back your way. Absolutely. And then Frank K said, there's a better chance of Jets winning the Super Bowl than having Trotz giving the youth a fair chance. Before he has Lou get him Mike Rupp out of the NHL Network booth.
I disagree. I just don't think the Jets have any shot of winning a Super Bowl.
People can say the same thing about the Islanders right now.
Yeah, well, the Islanders are never going to win a Super Bowl. Different sport.
John Smith said, we really lack offensive talent, and I actually get pissed off when I watch players like Travis Zegras doing stuff that no one on our team would even think about doing. We have a guy. The funny thing is, we have a guy who has the creativity and the ability of a Zegras, or the ability, not the same exact level though, but who has the playmaking ability and shows flashes of being a guy like a Connor McDavid. Not as good as Connor McDavid, but being a game changer like a McDavid could be in a Barzal. But we hamper that thought process and creativity.
We beat it out of them. Barry beats the creativity, beats the offensive acumen, just beats it right out of them. You think if Mat Barzal tried to do what Zegras did by scooping the puck up and flipping the air, what do you think? Sit your ass on the bench. You're never playing again.
I don't think he'd say that.
Not anymore. He
I
can't get
would be
away with it
interested.
now.
I would be interested to see what Barry Trotz's face would look like after they would do something. You know, like when you see coaches across all sports, when a player does something special, right? What Zegras did was special, never been done before. It's like a video game S type play. I just wonder what Barry Trotz's reaction would he would have been like in awe, thinking to himself, "Holy shit, I've got somebody really special here," or would he just be like, "Alrighty, guys, we scored a goal. We got to score another one."
He would not be celebrating that.
I want you to read this comment here by Dave F. Grumpy. I want you to
I
comment.
wonder if Aho is ever going to get a fair shot, meaning not being stuck with Chars. No, the answer is no. He's not even playing now. And I thought, and here's the thing, I think Aho has played better than Salo. They don't trust Salo much. And know a lot of fans don't either. All I know is I see him being able to move the puck out of the zone better than any of the defensemen we have.
Jewel, I apologize. Hoop Realm, I did not. Thank you. What's up? Well, I hope you're doing well. I did not have a chance to watch any of the Twitter EMs. I've got a whole bunch of messages I got to start looking at. I apologize. I've been sleeping. I have not been doing my job. I apologize. I've been slack ass. What the film said, and I agree. It's rebuild time is now. Take advantage. Time is a funny thing.
Very true.
Yeah. And then Jeff E., they were mentioning, Grumpy, how they feel bad for the season ticket owner or the season ticket holders, right? They buy these season tickets on the thought process. And again, they paid a pretty penny this year, first year in a new stadium, thinking to themselves, hey, the Islanders will be good. We've been to back-to-back Eastern Conference finals, and it's been yikes bad for them.
You can't even get your money back on the secondary market.
Dude, you're not kidding. Nowhere even close to your money back on a secondary market. And Jeff E. saying here, I bought a 10-game package and we live in Connecticut. Damn, it's not what I was sold. Damn it.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, Brian B., I agree. Bavillier is not top six. I think in an ideal scenario, he's a good third line left winger.
That's right. And he'd be a good third liner. Skates up and down his wing, hustles, goes into corners, gives it everything he's got. Yep.
Yeah. Alexander said that re-signing of Kyle Palmieri is looking worse and worse by each game.
Knew that was going to happen.
Kyle Palmieri is a guy, too, on a good team. He at this point in time in his career, he's a third-line right winger.
Yeah.
We have a lot of third, bottom six guys, top nine forwards masquerading and top six roles.
True.
When you have too many of those, it's really tough, no matter how great the system is, no matter how great your coaching is. When you have too many bottom six guys masquerading as top six players, it's tough to score goals.
Yeah. The whole thing is, that's what Barry wants. He doesn't want individual brilliance. He wants everyone to conform. Matt he's finally conformed to what we want to do. So you've beaten the offense out of him. You've beaten the creativity because he doesn't look like the player he was before. He does in spurts. And, Barry, as soon as he gets back to the bench, he's like, yeah, knock that shit off.
I think Mat Barzal from Barry is a more complete player. That being said,
true.
I think he needs to focus more on the offensive side of the puck going forward. But Kyle Palmieri, damn, you talk about bad performance. I had no idea it was this bad. 24 games played, 1 goal, 6 assists. He's got 7 points in 24 games as a top 6 forward who's played top 6 minutes the entire season, who has not missed a game due to COVID, not missed a game due to injury. The guy's been healthy.
Yeah, he's not a good player. You remember when he traded for him? I said the one guy I didn't want was Kyle Palmieri. Out of all the names mentioned, he's the guy I did not want. And I thought maybe it was my bias from just him being a loser devil. Nope, he's taking that loser with him. Brought him over here.
I'll say, Grump, you were one of the only guys to say that. And I called you crazy. I said, no, it's not a bad. I thought it wasn't a great trade. Maybe I said C+, maybe I said B. And he performed well in the playoffs. I said, oh, maybe it's a B trade. But I tell you, he has looked all the third line right wing that we had expected, or that you had expected him to be.
And what was the grade I gave that trade?
F minus actually.
F minus. Another first round pick gone. And then to make matters worse, you piss away good money on a guy who's in his 30s. Again, same thing. Long-term contract, pissing away money. Wash, rinse, repeat. You expect the results to change. Doesn't happen. You know what? I wish Lou would not be Shampoo Lou. First of all, he has to earn that name by having hair. He doesn't have any, so he shouldn't be using it.
He's got a few tufts on the side.
Yeah, not much. Not enough where you need shampoo. Just a little soap on it.
Scott L said they need to do what the Rangers did. Write a letter to the fans saying we know this season's a wash and start the quick rebuild. I think the fans will understand that point of view.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Took 2 years for the Rangers to turn the team around. 2 years. They turned it around. 2 years.
And think
2
about it.
years.
2 years. That being said, they had a miserable coach last year. The issue for the Rangers last year was no coach. College Quinn was a hideous coach. And even the Rangers, they gave him a full season to see what he can do. And they said, nope, you're gone. Gerard Gallant is a much better coach, much more competent coach than College Quinn. I mean, Gerard Gallant's a top 10 coach in the NHL.
And the Rangers are not a great team. They're not good defensively. But, man, they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. And if your team's not going to win a Stanley Cup, at least they should be fun to watch. I mean, watching the Isles it's like a dirge. It's like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Brian P said, yep, bringing up Kyle Palmieri is -11, never misses a shift, and throws in washed up Bailey and Parise. They get as many minutes as they want.
4 goals.
I'll be honest, the Zach Parise, he's been getting more minutes than I ever would have expected. More minutes than he's deserving of, I believe, as well.
He's an old guy. He's 37. He fits the mold of what they want to do. He skates hard, looks like he's working up, but don't produce. For those 3 players, 4 goals in 25 games. And what's the salary?
I don't mind.
$11 million. You should get more. You should get more production out of that, I think.
I think you should get more of a return. That also being said, we don't even know what the bonus is for him next season, too, that we might have to. Well, hopefully, we just do it this year. We just pay him off the bonus this year.
I just gave him $1 million. I just gave him $1 million.
Zach Parise, though, averaging 14 minutes and 30 seconds of ice time an evening. 14 minutes and 30 seconds of ice time a game.
And he does
Think about that. I was about to say, a guy who is 37 years old, who last year in 45 games scored 7 goals, and this year has 1 goal. Do you remember all the Islander fans that thought, oh, well, last year was just an odd scenario for him. Zach Parise is a consistent 20-goal scorer. He's going to revamp his – do you remember we had to fight all those items off? Again, I thought realistically maybe 15 goals was where Parise was going to be. Maybe 10, I think, was the lowest estimate. I had 15 goals is what I had estimated about. But people thought over an 82-game season he was going to score 20 goals at least.
What did I say?
Maybe 10 if he's lucky.
Maybe 10 if he's lucky. And I overshot.
I'll be honest. When you said that, I thought there was no way in hell. I'm like, 10? Dude, I really thought Jean-Gabriel Pageau. I didn't think Jean-Gabriel Pageau was going to be as pedestrian as he's been so far this year. I didn't. I thought Jean-Gabriel Pageau was going to continue to drive the line. And just by, being a part of the Jean-Gabriel Pageau and Oliver Wahlstrom line, he was going to have extra opportunities and rebounds to cash in on.
Had to stop Wahlstrom from scoring. Maybe those other guys just aren't that good. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah. Here it is. Eddie, the excuses only prevent solutions. I like that.
Very good, Eddie.
I like that.
Very good. Yes. Yes, Eddie. Yes, Eddie. I love that. That should be, yes. Excuses only prevent solutions. Bingo. Somebody had a dog and Bingo was his name. Oh, I forgot the whole song. I forget a long time since I heard that song. Yeah. Donna had a dog and Bingo was his name. Oh, Bingo. Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you. Oh, Tavares, don't even remind me. Brush Kingsta saying there are no excuses. I don't know, man. People are throwing every excuse under the sun out there. They are.
I'll tell you what. I still love Brush's fire hat. I love that fire hat.
I do too.
You know what? It's creative. That's a great fire hat.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Drew L said Detroit's going to be a good team within the next 2 seasons. They are really right on track.
That's what happens when you have an innovative, young general manager who knows how the game is supposed to be.
Scott L saying Grump go solo on Saturday.
If I knew how to do it, I would go solo. But it's too much for me. Honestly, I'd rip on TJ, man. He's the brains of this operation. Hate to give him too much credit, but we're gonna have to tie strings to his ears to keep us from floating away from getting a big head. But truly, I don't think I could do it. I don't even think he could walk me through the process, honestly.
Well, I appreciate it, Grump.
But you never know. Maybe if the wedding gets done early, we could do a podcast after the game.
Yes, but don't bet on it. That's all I'm saying. Just don't mark it down. Maybe we'll do something a little later. I'm out of town too, so like the setup I'm going to be in is kind of wonky for Sunday's game when we go live on it. But hopefully I'll bring more materials. Last time I set up, I didn't have the materials I needed for the TJ the Grumpy Old Man show. So hopefully I'll remember to bring the right items this time. Grumpy's alter ego said, I was told I was a fair weather fan because I said we didn't get better in the offseason. I said we got older, not better. That's exactly what Grump said. I think this is Grumpy's alter ego. Maybe picked an old quote from Grumpy.
So you know what you go up to those people, go, ha! How do you like me now? Smart guy. Who was right? Are we better? Did we get better or did we get older? You tell me.
Oh, Brian B was saying, stop, please. It's over, guys. Stop. Hey, it is over. Hey, I said 4 more games. I kicked the can down the road. Grump said, hell no, the buck stops here.
I already kicked the can down the road once. I'm not doing it again.
Yep.
They've done nothing to show me that I was wrong to kick the can down the road the first time. Fool me once, shame on me. Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
LG, I guess I'm going to do the fool me 3 times. There's not going to be a third time.
Once, twice, 3 times a lady.
LGI said, you can't trade Nick Leddy and not replace him. Zdeno Chara is not a replacement. They need to rotate Green and Chara. And it's even better, right? You get 2 for the price of 1 when you have Chara and Green on the ice at the same time. That's when it's special. That's when the Islanders have a special combination.
God, that's a really bad combination. That's a really bad combination. Like I said, Pelech and Leddy don't work together, in my opinion. Maybe in short stints, yes. In crucial situations, yes. But as a regular shift, no.
John Smith said, so what in the way we have been playing makes you think that we can streak anything but losses?
True. We just haven't played well all year. That's why I find it laughable. Oh, it was the road games. It was the home games. It was COVID. The sun came up at a different time yesterday. It went down too early, but everything remains the same. We're not playing well all year with the same guys, with the same cast and crew, with the exception of adding Chara and Parise. And that's not the reason why we're bad. Those 2 guys, everyone on the team, particularly the older guys, got older and just a little bit slower.
The only thing, John, I could ever see, because you're right, there's nothing right now that would lead me to believe rationally the Islanders can continue to go streaking unless you subscribe to the thought of this is uncharacteristic and truly we are not a bottom tier team. That's the only way you can espouse that idea. The only way I think we can go on a winning streak is if it's a few things. Sorokin has to play out his freaking damn mind. Sorokin's been spectacular. He needs to be perfect, right? Allow 0 goals every game. You'd have to say, we're going to give Oliver Wahlstrom more chances and more time. And we're not going to play Zdeno Chara. There has to be like 2 or 3 different items really to go on a positive streak, I believe. But no, I don't think there's anything that should give fans an idea to say, hey, we can go on a positive win streak of a few games. I mean, just the law of averages, maybe that's one of those, one of the items. But like from what we've seen on the ice, there's not much that would lead me to believe that.
Do you want to know how do you get guys to waive their no trade clauses? You sit their asses on the bench for a couple of weeks. Then they're like, I'm not part of this. Move me. That's how you make it happen. There are ways to make it happen. You just have to have the balls to do it. Put me in charge. Anders Lee will be screaming for the exits. Send me to the KHL. Whatever you got to do. Get me out of here.
Frank K said, don't leave out Don Ranger Maloney, Grump.
Yeah, man, Don Maloney. Ugh, that was the dark times. That's for certain. We got the better Lindros. Ugh.
Jesus. Shooters Puck Hockey says, when was the last time the Islanders have won 2 in a row? They win 1 game and they lose 2 in a row. So I don't even get excited for a win because I know they can't sustain a winning streak. The last time the Islanders have won 2 games in a row was November 4th and November 6th when we beat the Montreal Canadiens and the Winnipeg Jets in back-to-back games. That was the last time and the only time this season the Islanders have won more than 1 game in a row. Let that sink in, guys. The last time and the only time the Islanders have won more than one game in a row was November 4th and November 6th. We are 24 games into the regular season. We have not strung together a multiple game winning streak. That's even 2 games. Besides once this year, it was in November 4th and November 6th, well over a month ago.
And, we had the comment earlier, people say I'm a Debbie Downer or whatever. My question is, if people say, well, I don't think the Islanders are making the playoffs.
I'm wrong. Real quick, before you get to it, the Islanders did also win 2 games in a row on October 23rd and 24th against the Arizona Coyotes and the Vegas Golden Knights. I'm sorry, continue, though.
Okay. All you have to say to them is, well, do you think Montreal is making the playoffs? Is Seattle making the playoffs? Is Chicago making the playoffs? Is Buffalo making the playoffs? Because they're all teams that are, right around where we are.
Frank D. I love it, Frank. I love it, man. I love it. That's, we all need a little bit of positivity and a little bit of smile, right? I'm not saying the fact that fans are wearing bags over their heads is positivity, but it's always good to see something like that. It just puts a little bit of a chuckle on my face. Reminds you, hey, it's nowhere near as bad as times have been before when you really need to break out the bags. But hey, I like it, Frank D. I like it. I get a little chuckle out of that.
Oh my God. That's a great comment. And it reminds me of the days of
read the comment. Read the comment, Grump.
At this rate, with COVID coming down harder than the grumpy old man on Bailey for playing like a girl at the end of a pinwheel. Ooh, at the end of the pinwheel. Wow. The Isles will be playing 50 games against the Metro in a bubble. I just want to say, when I saw that picture, it reminded me of the New Orleans Aints back in the day. That's when the fans said that they weren't the Saints, they were the Aints. They were so bad. Here's the thing. You want to know what gets Ledecky to question Lou Lamoriello and Barry Trotz? Is if all the fans go into the stadiums wearing bags on their heads because they're too embarrassed to show themselves in public. That makes owners sit up and take notice. It really does. You want to actually have a positive influence or have an influence on what the Islanders do, everyone go to the stadium wearing bags on their heads. Oh, my God. Because they wouldn't even be able to show crowd shots. You imagine everybody in the front rows wearing bags on their heads? That's national news.
You would see the cartel media then saying, this is not good for our team morale. This is not good for our team, because when they see you wearing bags on your head, that just messes with their confidence. And when their confidence is down, they can't win games. You would see them spin that every which way imaginable. Islander fans, it's not bad enough to wear bags on your head. You know what? You're doing that really sends a bad message to the organization, and it sends a bad what type of message do you think that sends to Mat Barzal when we go through a little bit of a tough spurt of 20 games and we bring out bags on our foreheads? I wouldn't stay here if I was Mat Barzal. Then they would try to dream every scenario to cover any way to save the ass of the organization humanly imaginable. That is what the cartel media would do.
Well, the thing you could do, you could write on your bag and say what you want to have happen. Matt,
stay
we
Mat
love
Barzal.
you. Matt, we love you. Bail out if you need to. Don't be part of this mess. Stay for us. Make Barry get rid of these bums.
Well, here's Jeffy saying, masks at UBS now. It just keeps getting better and better, LOL. Well, here's the thing. Guys, if you don't want to wear your mask, I think I've got a better solution. Wear the bag. Wear the bag over your head and cut some slits out in the eye holes. Okay. You don't have to wear a mask. I don't think they're not going to say, hey, can you remove your bag? I need to make sure you're wearing a mask. If you're wearing a bag over your head, you could still eat. You can watch the game, and you don't have to worry about the mask over your face. I think you're good like that.
And that was a different type bag. Like the old bags, they're more long when you put them
over. That was a short one.
That was wide.
I'm about to say, that's like I'm working on a construction site. I got my lunch bag. I got my lunch pail bag.
You remember, they used to call Bart Simpson paper bag head. And you remember that show, Hey Arnold?
Yeah, I used to watch Hey Arnold growing up. That was my jam.
He had the football head, so he'd have to wear a bag that's wider rather than longer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there it is.
All right,
Hey Arnold, Hey Arnold bag. But here we go. I think we've got the solution. Just wear the garbage bags. Just wear the lunch bags over your head. I think you should be good. You watch them try to say, grumpy old man and TJ are saying, don't wear masks. No, we're not saying that. Don't twist.
I wasn't even bringing up masks. I just said wear the bags.
I just think it's funny. What a film's saying, Grump tells it like it is. That's why we love you.
Thank you.
Jeremy F saying, TJ, I've been watching the Islanders since 84. My heart broke last playoffs when they lost game 7. I'm with Grump. Give the young guys, give me the young guys and salvage what you can from the elder statesman.
Yeah. And I'm looking to cut salary. Andersley, bye. Ride the bench. Maybe we'll just send you down to the minors. Maybe someone will pick you up on waivers. That'll get them to say, I'll waive my no trade. Bye-bye.
LGI says here, I was in tears in game 7 when we lost against Tampa. Never teared up on an Islanders game and over an Islanders game.
I've teared up over many Islander game, usually like when I'm cutting onions or something like that. So maybe it's a different scenario.
Oh, man, on that. Scott L said, TJ will keep delaying till officially the end of the season. No. Guys, hold me accountable and I'll hold myself accountable. 4 games, right? We said.
How many games?
Hold on. We said we were going to give them 10 games, get 14 points. We are 7 games into that 10-game span. In reality, I've only expanded by 1 game. I said I was going to give them 10 games. They needed 14 points. I have extended that 1 additional game. That being said, right, we're only 7 games into that 10-game span we were talking about. I give them 4 more games. 4 games.
How many points?
6 bare minimum, probably 7 points. Right? You've got Boston, a very winnable game tomorrow against Boston when you've got Pasternak and Marchand out. That's a game you got to come with a win with. You play Vegas as they head back to the West Coast.
No, it's Bergeron and
Bergeron and Marchand. You got Bergeron and Marchand out, right? That's a very winnable game. You're missing 2 of the big pieces on offense for Boston. I know we're missing Matty B, but they're missing 2 huge pieces. You play Vegas on Sunday as they get ready to go back home. They're probably already checked out, like we always
say. The getaway game.
It's a getaway game. That's what we hear from the broadcast crew. We played the lowly Montreal Canadiens, and then we play the Washington Capitals. I'm saying out of those 4 games, you have to come with 6, if not 7 points. If you don't do it, boom, I'm saying season's over. Brian B said, TJ, it's over now. We need a purge-style cleansing of this team.
True, an enema.
I'll let you read this, Grump, and I'll be right back.
Again? My gosh, what is it? I don't understand. Okay. Christopher, once again, with that fantastic anime stuff that he does. Grumpy, have you noticed some of the teams in our division have started losing lately? Maybe there's still a bit of hope. Yeah, Christopher, but we're not winning. So even when they lose, we're still 11 points right now out of a playoff spot. We've made up 1 point in 7 games. There's not enough games in the season to make up all the difference. And it's not necessarily just points. Again, it's teams. So you have to have 6 teams ahead of you really start tanking. I'm including, I know, Buffalo. I'm even including Detroit, who I don't think is that good. But, you have Buffalo, you have Jersey, you have Philadelphia. Those teams, even though Philadelphia is starting to play better now with a new coach, I'm expecting us to potentially catch those teams, but it's going to be really, really tough catching Boston and Pittsburgh. And those are the 7th and 8th spots right now. And because I think Boston is absolutely going to make the playoffs. And I also feel Pittsburgh is as well. So that leaves us, no matter how well we play, on the outside looking in.
Drew L said, I got one question about the podcast in general. If you guys wind up growing to a certain point where comments become a pain, will you guys, for instance, take calls like all the other big podcasts out there? We usually do take calls on Saturdays. And it's one of those things where it's tough because I try to manage them both. And
that's what I'll speak to this. It's real. TJ does everything. So if there's call-ins, TJ, we don't have a call screener. TJ's his own call screen. He don't even screen the calls. So maybe that's a bad thing to say.
Don't tell them that, Grump.
Yeah.
Don't tell them that, God dang it.
But TJ handles all the comments. He handles all the phone calls, multiple bathroom breaks. There's a lot of things that he does within the podcast. But, it is hard to get to all the comments. It really is difficult. And TJ does a great job.
We'll start bringing back after Christmas, maybe even before that. I don't know. Maybe before then, we'll I don't know, probably after Christmas, we'll bring back the call-in segments on Saturdays. On the weekends, right? Where everybody has a little bit more time on their hands. It's easier to go later on in the evening on a weekend night than it is during a weekday night. I know
Well,
Grumpy is retired now, but I am not.
well, the Islanders are going to have a lot of time on their hands come the spring. That much I know.
I have a vacation, Grump, scheduled for late March, early April. Are you trying to tell me that I don't have to worry too much about what's going on then? I don't have to worry about the Islanders too much then? Oh, yeah, Grump. I don't know if I told you this.
No,
I'm gonna be in another country around that time period.
they're
I'm gonna
kicking
be
you out of this country.
They're kicking me out. Yeah, so I'll be out in Scotland. I'll be in the United Kingdom. I'll be in Scotland and England around that time period. So when we go live, I'll still go live. It's just gonna be like at 12 o'clock my time. Hey man, we do it for the fans, but it's gonna be
Okay.
we might not be doing the live games on that time period, but I'll be vacationing around. But
Okay.
Matthew S saying, yeah, we need to look to fleece some teams for pieces that other teams need.
That's what I'm all in for, Matthew. I'm all in for that.
Joe Francis, he takes a different approach. He says Salo is no better than Aho. They're both not good.
Okay. I don't think they're as bad. It's a different game. They play a different style game. Well, Aho does. Just to me, I think he's been okay. I mean, okay, he'll make a mistake here and there, but you know what? He's able to clear the puck. When he was in there, they were only giving up 1 or 2 goals a game, 1 goal a game. You can't blame him.
Brian B said, Grump, 2 firsts for Mayfield, not happening. Yeah, and then not in any lifetime, BP says.
But that should be your ask. That should be your ask.
Realistically, what I'm expecting is a first and a third, maybe a first and a second for Scott Mayfield.
And that's fine.
Here's the thing. I don't think you're also adding in, he has an extra year on his contract. He's a top 4 defenseman. Yeah, sure, he's struggling. He struggled last year in the regular season a bit. But in the playoffs, he looked fantastic. And this year, if in the playoffs, his style is built for the playoffs. His style of clutching, grabbing, cross-checking, just mauling individuals when nothing gets called. He can do that all the time he wants in the playoffs. So he can really wear a team down.
Well, look at
Grump,
that.
you just turned your light on.
Yeah, I had it hooked up. I just didn't turn it on.
Oh, Dan company. No worries. He says you can get a first and a second for Mayfield for teams that are desperate. That's what I think, right? Teams are going to have injuries. Teams will have an injury to a defenseman. And they could say, oh, wow, wait a second. Not only can I add a piece that's a stay-at-home defenseman, I can also get the guy for next year, too.
And he makes nothing. He makes nothing.
Defensemen usually go for a king's ransom at the deadline. Think about it. We traded away a 6th-round pick for a 7th defenseman on a rental contract. A 7th defenseman, a 6th-round pick.
Andy freaking Green.
Andy Green, ladies and gents. Andy freaking Green is right. 35-year-old Andy Green at the time.
And how much was he getting paid? $4 million a year?
They, I think, retain half the cap hit on Andy Green, but I'm not sure.
But he's still
back up.
Yeah, you can look that up. That's fine. I mean, but think about it. That's nothing. That's nothing. Look what defensemen go for. 1st-round pick is very much in the play for that. So,
Andy Green, grumpy old man, when he was traded to the Islanders, his contract was 5 years, $5 million per. They retained cap hit on him, though, I believe.
Okay.
He was at 3.6. He had signed the 1-year extension. Maybe he was at 3.6.
And see, that's what, if we move, I'm just going to throw Anders Lee out there again.
Think about that. Andy Green, who I would say at 35 years old was a worse defenseman than Scott Mayfield, was making $3.6 million a year as a rental. A lesser value player than Scott Mayfield got a 2nd-round pick. Given the market always changes depending on what the needs are out there.
He was 37. He wasn't 35. He was 37.
He's 39 now?
Yes.
Holy shit. That's right.
Ugh. Yeah.
I apologize. I forgot.
And he got a 2nd-round pick. Scott Mayfield will command at least a 1st. And here's the thing. If you want to move Anders Lee, yeah, we'll eat some money. It just gives you a better draft pick. That happens all the time.
Gotcha, Grump. BP says, Grump, we got 2 seconds for Taves. LOL. Lou would trade Mayfield for a 4th line. Oh, please.
Well,
yeah.
Lou feels he needs to over trade for whoever he wants is the most valuable guy on the planet, and our guys suck. So he moves them for nothing. Taves was a disaster move. We had a special emergency podcast when that happens, and that got an F double minus. That's even worse than Palmieri.
We said it when it happened. Some people said, no, that's great. I can't tell you how many times people say, oh, you don't understand how the salary cap works. No, I do. I'm just saying there are other guys you got rid of, maybe take a little bit less of return to keep the more talented player on your team.
Yeah.
Let's be honest real quick. How often do top line defensemen or top pairing defensemen get traded?
At that age.
2 second-round picks at that age entering the prime of their career.
Never.
Devon Taves is a bona fide, again, he's a bona fide top pairing defenseman. He's a guy who is a Norris candidate. He's going to be a Norris candidate every single season for the Colorado Avalanche. He puts up points in droves. And if it wasn't for COVID right now that he's got, he would be, I'm telling you, he was averaging over a point a game as a defenseman. I know it's for Colorado, but averaging over a point a game for a defenseman. And his plus minus is gaudy. He's putting up a video game S numbers as a defenseman. And we gave up 2 second-round picks. We got 2 second-round picks for Devon Taves. That shit drives me nuts. Always has, always will.
Dumb. That was the worst trade. Of all the dumb things Lou Lamoriello's done, that's probably the dumbest.
Let me ask you this. We've talked about horrible trades in Islanders history. Where does trading, and again, it's early yet, where does trading Devon Taves for 2 second-round picks rank up? We've had a lot of shitty trades in our history. Where does trading Devon Taves, top line defenseman, or top pairing defenseman, who is averaging right now over a point a game, and let's say as a defenseman, he averages a point a game this season. Where does that rank up all time in the shittiest Islander trades of history?
Top 5 at the worst. It's top 5. Top 5.
I was about to say it might be third.
It might be third. It might be. The worst one was Luongo. That was the worst one.
And then trading away Chara.
A little bit different.
I'm just saying for the amount we gave up for what we returned.
Yeah, Yashin was a really good player back then, though.
I know he was, but Chara again.
But Yashin was an all-star. Okay,
I understand. And then Zdeno Chara, he is. I mean, like his career, there never will be a guy to be able to replicate what Zdeno Chara and who Zdeno Chara is. Mr. B saying the Islanders don't have a legitimate first line. They're very good system that is average or less than average players can effectively execute when healthy, all supported by above average bet or net minding.
True. Very true.
We've said it all the time. We 100% agree, Mr. B.
Yep.
That is exactly our ideology.
And that's what Barry Trotz likes, right? That's what he likes. Oh, Sean Chambers, man, he sucked. He was terrible. Ugh.
Rich A saying, also, if we get the number 1 pick in this year's draft, Shane Wright is NHL ready.
No, he'll probably need 2 more years in juniors and 3 years in the minors before Lou would call him up.
You want to know another positive too, guys? The team, tanks. We can look forward to the draft again. Woo!
Unless we manage to trade away our first-round pick for some, Joey Bag of Donuts or something like that.
Here's the thing. If Lou Lamoriello trades away a first-round pick and we're not in a playoff position, I'm talking about in a playoff spot, a fireable fence. Gone. That day, freaking gone. You cannot trade away this year's first-round pick, especially with the way we are. If you trade away a first-round pick, Lou Lamoriello has to go. That is a fireable fence on the spot.
I am glad that you came around to my way of thinking when I told you just a scant month ago that there's no way we should trade this pick. And you said, whoa, we're within 10 points of a playoff spot at the deadline. We should make a trade. Nope.
No, I didn't say we should. I said I could see us. I always said I don't think there's any reason we should have traded away this pick. I said I could see the Islanders organization trading away the first-round pick if we're 10 points out of a playoff spot. I could see us doing it. I don't think there's any chance now.
No.
And remember the rationale I gave it. They're going to say, oh, we were able to climb that mountain. We've gotten better. We were able to overcome COVID. We were able to overcome the road trip. We're slowly climbing over teams. We're slowly getting closer to a playoff spot. That's what I said. I could see the rationale for the Islanders organization being. I said you should never do that. I'm saying I could see them doing it. Now I think there's no way. If they do it, it's a fireable offense.
I'm just going to say that today I was thinking, as everyone knows, we've had the floors torn up in the house, so I had to move everything, and I started moving, stuff back to where it belongs now. And I have some Blu-rays, and I saw a couple of disaster movies in there. I'm like, oh, if the Islanders were a disaster movie this year, what would it be, and how could I use it to describe it? And there's quite a few little things I'm not going to do it today, but maybe will pose a question, and then I'll give you my plot synopsis of whatever disaster movie that we come up with to show how the Islanders season is gone.
John Smith saying, not many of our games are blowout losses. They're actually they're pretty close. We just don't score enough goals. We're 31st in the league for goals for, and they're 6th in goals against.
We're minus 21. Minus 21.
21?
Minus 21. Minus 21.
Do you know, hold on, have you ever seen that meme? 21? Have you ever seen that? Oh, no. I thought you did.
So how many games have we lost like in overtime and shootout?
Was it 5?
I don't know. I'm asking. I don't know.
We've lost 5 games. 5 games in overtime slash shootout. And people say, oh, well, we haven't won an overtime shootout game. That's not going to continue. There's surely no way a team that can't skate won't continue not to win 3-on-3 matchups.
So out of our 25 games, we'll take 5 off. And now it's minus 16 for 20 games. We won 7. So let's say, we beat every team by a goal, right? That's positive. So let's add 7 to that. That means that we've lost our 11 games by 23 goals. That's not good. That's by 2 a game. If you take out the overtime losses, that's 1 goal. And then, whatever.
Nick D said, Grump is 99% correct most of the times. I can't give you that 1%, Grump. Don't want to get it to your head. Don't want it to go to your head.
I want that. Thank you. Don't do that, Nick. Hold my feet to the fire at all times. I don't want to get cocky.
Absolutely.
Michael T. Good evening. You know what? I remember when I used to look at Michael T when he used to come up, and I was like, oh, it's going to be some troll job. But then he put up the Kasperitis picture, and I don't feel that way anymore.
Tony Cheese said here, I think Palmieri has created a lot of opportunities and has hit the post a few times. I don't think he's been that bad, but certainly not worth $5 million. Realistically,
he sucks. Realistically, he sucks.
I think he's a good third line guy. He should seriously. Kyle Palmieri is worth about $3.5 million a year, not 5, and he's not a top 6 guy.
Again, a guy he's in his 30s. I'm not even looking at you. I'm not even looking, unless I'm a totally young team. Yes, I could see making a move like that. But if you're a veteran team, why would you even look at a guy in his 30s? It's just dumb. It's just dumb. That's being nice.
Dave Franco wants to know, can we get a 1.5 first-round pick plus Hosang back in the trade?
Yeah, that's not happening. Never.
Oh, man. Oh.
Tell me Toronto wouldn't give you a 1st and a 2nd. For Mayfield.
Well, that's what I said. Like when we say 2 first-round picks, if you're trading with an elite caliber team, 2 first-round picks, you're looking at 25 and later.
Yeah.
So
they might throw you 2. You never know that.
If you're a team that's borderline, I could see them saying, maybe not. But if you're a team that's on the cusp and you're saying, oh, we're really Stanley Cup contenders, we're going to win the President's Trophy this year. Yeah, 2 first-round picks is not that much of an ask for them. They're trading away their 30th or maybe a 29th overall pick this year, maybe a 27th or 28th next year.
True.
For a guy that's got the cost certainty and playoff experience that performed at the toughest level in the Eastern Conference. I mean, it's not like, here's the thing too. In the Eastern Conference playoffs, he played his best hockey. So against the best competition, he was playing elevated level of hockey, right? That speaks volumes.
And then let's say they want to save some cap. You know what? Give us 2 number 1s for Mayfield, and we'll send you back some other piece of garbage off our roster that makes money this year. That's where you can free up more space.
You're right, Grumpy.
That's how you can make those deals. You just have to be creative enough. Is Lou creative enough? I don't know. But you could definitely offload Anders Lee. Absolutely you could. Now, will they? I don't know. But you could. You just have to be creative. That's all.
Michael T said, I'm sick of watching this team. I don't know whose fault it is, but this team has no heart and soul anymore. It's sad and depressing at the point after last night's game. I'm disgusted. A bunch of gutless, spineless pukes. The team is stir-fried, and that's on the fire inside. Stir-fried shit, that's on fire inside. On a dumpster, that's on fire.
Who has hacked into Michael T's account? That's what I want to
I
know.
tell you, fans are. That's what I said. That's why I wanted to start off with a little bit of a different segment, a little bit of a positive spin on things. Because, dude, I'm telling you, fans out there, Grump, are ready to throw the Islanders overboard. And people, here's the thing, right? You get two different individuals when things shit hits the fan like this. People who want to riot and storm the Bastille, and people who say, well, it's just not our year. We'll just come back next year. We're not going to pay too much attention to the Islanders. Well, this season's a write-off.
That's what
those are the two fans you get.
I'd rather be fan number one because it means you're passionate. If you're fan number two, you suck. Unless you listen to this show, then you're cool.
Drew S. said they really need to stop making these idiotic superhero movies.
I'm going to see one tonight, baby. Woo.
Oh man, jeez. Dave F. said get a first and a second rounder plus Ho-Sang for Mayfield. No, there's no way in hell Ho-Sang's ever coming back on this team.
Unless Barry Trotz was gone.
Even if he wasn't, he's not coming here. Lou doesn't I don't think Lou likes Ho-Sang. Dave F. says save the cap space. There aren't enough stars available to turn this season around.
I want to say that the kids look way better than Dave in his costume in that picture. But hey, we love you anyway, Dave. Yeah, for me, I'm trading cap space now to get more assets coming back in the way of draft picks.
John P. said, good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, John.
John is
English gentleman.
I know John he's just coasting for the rest of the year till the beginning of January. You know that.
John Francis saying a toxic asset equals Evander Kane.
Not that toxic. First of all, I'm not looking for players unless they're giving me draft picks for players. You want to throw me a second or first round draft pick? I'll take Evander Kane and bury him in the minors. No problem at all.
No. It's got to be more than a first round pick, especially if you're going to bury Evander Kane's cap hits $7 million a year, dude.
We have plenty.
Hold on. He's got it for another 3 years on that contract.
Yeah, that's a little. Well, you know what? Give me 2 firsts.
Dude, here's the thing.
So
if you were to get, let's say they're offloading, San Jose's like our team, we're in rebuild, or hey, we believe that we can take the elevated step. I think San Jose's in a shit situation. They've got a lot of players that are old, tied with a lot of money, and on the bad side, a lot of players tied to the bad side of 30. That being said, man, oh man, right? If Evander Kane's, maybe he'll earn his spot back for the San Jose Sharks. But that's he's not going anywhere.
We're not touching him. No one's touching
him. Nor should we. That's a guy who just can't stay out of his own way.
But I'm not talking about Evander Kane in particular, but like other teams who want to unload, we want to get this cap hit off of our books or whatever.
We've got a player that makes $4 or $5 million. We got a player that makes $5 million a year. What we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to offload him to the Islanders so we can free up some space so we can go ahead and acquire Johnny Two Shoes who makes $7 million so we can make a real push that's on a rental deal.
Exactly.
We can acquire, let's say if the Predators are out, we can acquire Philip Forsberg for a playoff push. If they said, Philip Forsberg said, I'm not re-signing with you, right? That's what good teams do. When the guy doesn't re-sign, they trade him at the deadline. They say, okay, you're gone. We'll get a draft pick for you. And if a team needs to free up some space, we can be the linchpin in the freeing up of space because we will have the space.
Exactly.
Yep. Nick D said, yeah, TJ, retool all players over 30. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's rebuild for certain, which is cool.
We got nothing in the return of young players coming up except Atu Ratu.
That's what happens when you keep trading away your first round draft picks, second round draft picks, third round draft picks for guys in their 30s. Just a mistake every time.
Nick D says, what about Mike Babcock?
I like Babcock. I don't know if the game has passed him by. You might almost, if you're going to go young, if you're going to go with a young team, maybe just some young hot shot. Bring him in here and see what we can do. Like Milbury. Milbury did it with Laviolette because they were cheap. But, I mean, Laviolette was that type of coach.
Joe F. says, Salo and Aho are not going to be anything special. And Grant Hutton. Please pass the crack pipe, TJ. Hey, man. I tell you, I think Salo shows it. I'm not saying he's Bobby Orr. I'm just saying he's a guy that could be a competent top 4 defense.
Now you're throwing out Bobby Orr.
I'm saying he's not Bobby Orr.
All I'm saying is you're looking for a couple of bottom pairing D guys. That's all you're looking for.
Joe F says, I'm ready to, Grumpy. Let's embrace it.
Oh, my God. $7,000
on tickets this season.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe.
I'm sorry to hear your loss. I'm sorry for your loss, Joe.
Oh,
I feel
me
bad
too.
for you, man. I feel bad. Honestly, I feel bad for all the season ticket owners. You want
It's
to talk about people
fans.
got screwed? The fans got screwed.
It's always the fans who suffer. Always the fans. It's tough being a fan.
And that's why they
Well,
wonder, oh, why can they be so mean? Why are they so mean on social media? Because people like Joe spent $7,000 of their hard-earned money to go to these games, and they see a product on the ice that is not only not entertaining to watch, but also produces shit results. They have a reason to be freaking upset. They have a reason to be pissed off.
true.
To say they don't is just out of touch.
Hit the nail on the head.
Eve L says, do we waive Josh Bailey?
He's too smart to waive.
Oh, man. Bavillier has never lit the world on fire ever. He's a third liner. That's it. That's
True.
I think that's the case.
But here's the thing: if he goes on one of his streaks, everyone will think he's great again. Here's the thing: he happens to work well with Mat Barzal.
He has the ability to put up multi-point games too. When people say, "Oh, Anthony Bavillier is on a 7-game point streak, and 3 of those are multi-point games," well, people change their opinion and start changing their tune. But again, the guy ideally is a third line left winger, no doubt about it.
True.
They need to boost Boudreau, a type of guy that gives offensive players some rope and freedom. Trotz and Tortorella are the same type. Brian P is saying
He's with
Trotz.
Vancouver.
Torts is just more of an asshole.
Isn't Boudreau with Vancouver now?
Just recently with Vancouver. Mr. B said, I'd move Barzal. They're too far away to benefit from his talent and too far away to continue to stifle his career. No, man.
That's where I disagree.
I disagree on that big time.
Really, if you're smart, 2-3 years, you can rebuild into being a really good team. You have to be able, though, to hoard draft picks and play the young players. That's what you have to do. Look at Detroit. I mean, last year they were dumpster fire. The year before, dumpster fire. But what did they do? A whole lot of draft picks, and they let the young kids play. Learn on the job. Because guess what? As long as they're on those entry-level deals and start producing, those are the teams that you can augment by bringing in veterans.
Okay, when you say a whole lot of draft picks, dude, let's talk about like 7-8 draft picks in the top 3 rounds every single year for multiple years. So, I mean, a Detroit rebuild was a full freaking on rebuild. 2-3 first-round picks, 2-3 second-round picks, 2-3 third-round picks every single year. Every year, dude, for the last 3 years. It's been crazy the amount of draft picks and draft capital Detroit's accumulated. We're not in a position like that, Grump.
Well,
nor should we be.
But you could be if you just start moving your guys.
No, Grumpy. No, screw that, dude. We've got the goalie. We've got a top 5 goalie in the league.
I'm not saying
on a team with the right system. We've got a top 10. We have a top 10, top 5 center in the league, and you've got a guy who's going to be a bona fide top line right winger who's a sniper.
But you can load up on the younger players. That's what move your veterans and bring in young guys and play them. What's wrong with that? You could sign a couple of veterans. You still got to get the cap floor. But the whole thing is
full on rebuild, dude, where you're trading away guys like
the Rangers went full on rebuild and they're in second place in 2 years. So go figure that out.
Mm-hmm. I just will agree to disagree at the moment, grumpy old man. That's all. Agree to disagree. They're saying move Anders Lee to Minnesota. Brian B saying move Lee. Jeremy F saying I like the character of Anders Lee. I just don't want the $7 million put towards a second and third line type of player. Same with Josh Bailey. How much would you spend per line? I like our allocation of money on defense, but how much would you spend on line? On the fourth line, I'm talking about absolute maximum 4.5 max. That is maximum $4.5 million.
I'm willing to go $5 million on your fourth line.
Think about our fourth line now. Cal Clutterbuck makes what, 3.5? Matt Martin, what makes $2 million?
1.5.
1.5. And Casey Zizekas makes $2 million. We're at about $6 million
plus. That's like $7.5 million. $7.5 million for your fourth line. Sorry.
Our third line, think about this. Our third line, Zach Parise is making vet minimum. We've got our center, John Gabriel Pageau, making $5 on a rookie entry level contract for Oliver Wahlstrom. So you're looking at about $6.5, $7 million is what you got on your third line.
Yeah.
Second line is you talk about how much have you got on the second line? Man. What Brock's making what $6 million a year, Grum?
$15 million. for your second line.
15 million on our second line.
Yep. Bavillier is what, 4, 6, and 5 for Palmieri? There you go. First line, Jesus, talk about wasted money, 19 million. And out of that, one guy should be getting 15 of it, and the other two pieces of garbage should be making 2.
2 apiece, right?
No, I'd say 3.25, and I give Bailey vet minimum.
Got a comment here from Sal P saying, TJ, I disagree about our defense being set. Yes, Pulak and Pelech are signed long-term, but they are defensive D-men, and it looks like Dobson is on the brink of emerging as our best guy back there. But after that, we have nothing. We have nothing. We need more creativity and skating ability back on the defensive end.
True. Very true. I see that's where I disagree with you, TJ, because I mean, you're all in on the Salo train. He hasn't showed me enough. I think Aho has played better than he has so far. I'm not saying that Salo's not going to be good. I just haven't seen enough of him, and I haven't seen a whole lot of improvement. Still his first year in the league, okay? So he gets a pass. Grant Hutton, I think, is fine. I thought he got better. The more he played, the better he looked. And I don't mind him being a bottom pair guy. But like I said, I'm willing to move Mayfield, but that's it. I don't think you could jimmy around too much with the defense core that we have right now. Mayfield's the one guy.
Dave F. said, you only consider moving Barzal if he doesn't sign long-term extension. I don't want another pajama incident.
Yes.
Yeah. I try to trade Bavillier to the Habs for Romanov, says Rich A.
I don't know. Romanov's, how old is he? I mean, I'm not trading for old guys. Just not doing it. I don't know how old.
Alexander Romanov's only 21 years old.
Okay. Well, all right. I'm willing to make that deal. What is it? Bavillier's
why would the, I guess so. Bavillier is one of the problems this year.
Okay, but he's not the main problem on this team. It's the old guys. It's the older guys in their 30s getting big contracts. Those are the guys that are the problem.
Emmanuel R. saying, do you trade Varley?
If there's a taker, yes, I move him.
Most goalies, though, unfortunately, don't get moved at the deadline unless a team has like an injury to a goalie that's going to be out long term. That's the only time you see a goalie get moved. And here's the interesting thing, right? We're in a situation if we're sellers. Every team in the NHL can they can go ahead and retain cap hits on 3 players at any one time. So with Varlamov, right, if you retain a cap hit on him, if they want to do something like that, he still has term left on the contract. But even for rentals, right, if you're giving away a rental, retaining cap on them, when guys are short-term deals, you can only do that for 3 different individuals. We've got cap space this year. I'm not sure we would retain cap hit on Varley, but I think that's more of a summer thing. He does have 1 more year left of contract.
You look at other, teams, okay, might want a goalie, right? What about Marc-Andre Fleury? Why wouldn't he want out of Chicago? He's only been there for what? 4 months. So, maybe, who would you rather have if you're a contending team? Fleury or Varlamov?
Fleury's coming off. Both goalies haven't looked great so far this season, but Fleury's just coming off of Vezina.
There you go. Just answered your own question.
Yep. I don't disagree. I think Varlamov does have value, though, this offseason. But the shitty thing is he's played so miserably so far this year, and he's looked so pedestrian and human that his value isn't what it once was. So sucks for us. Oliver Wahlstrom is top 6. It's foolish to think otherwise, Grumpy. I agree. The guy's a top 6 guy. The guy's going to be a bona fide top line right wing.
I'm talking about right now. Right now, he's not a top 6 forward for this team.
I think he if he was given a chance, he'd be top 6.
Yeah, I do too. But right now he's not. That's my point. I'm talking about of our top 6 guys right now, only one guy. Everybody else needs to be replaced, and that's fine. I have no problem. I have no problem moving up Wahlstrom and Bellows. Even I'd love to see Bellows with Barzal and Wahlstrom. I'd love to see that line.
Greg Frost saying, does Trotz ever call out Zdeno Chara?
Nope. The closest he came was last night when he said it was an ill-advised pass that didn't have a high chance of succeeding. We made a pass that didn't have a high success rate, but he never called out Chara. Never.
Do you remember last year when we used to criticize Barry Trotz for playing the wrong players at times, for the wrong line combinations, for elevating certain players when they struggled, and everybody just kept saying, "How many Stanley Cups do you have? You know nothing." Trotz is a Hall of Fame caliber coach. Trotz is one of the top 5 coaches in the league. You know nothing. How many times do we hear that? How many times do we say, what a weak ass argument? These are the reasons why we believe it's a bad decision by him for rolling out Bailey on the first line, even last year, for rolling out Leo Komarov on the first line. Why it's bad? People would call us crazy. What the hell do you guys know? We always said the guy's not infallible.
More than you. That's always my response is more than you.
What does that mean?
I know more than those comments. People who comment that, I know more than they do.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you.
Right, bingo. Dave said it right there. That was exactly my point.
Why don't you read it for people who are listening to the podcast?
Well, you blasted right through it because something that validates my point. You just, we don't need that one. No sense looking at that one.
We lost the comment. Go ahead,
Grumpy. He is, but I think Grumpy is just meaning that he hasn't been on our top 6 or given top 6 ice time. That's exactly right. I'm just talking about the guys right now are top 6. Yes. Oh, that one. Hold on. Go back to that one. He's talking about you right there, PJ. I'm telling you right now.
Why don't you read this, Grumpy? Why don't you read this?
Yo.
Why don't you read it, Grump?
Weak bladder.
It's true. Sal P said, you know what? Maybe they're talking about you, Grumpy. You've gone to the bathroom how many times? 2 times this podcast?
I just go in my pants. See, that's a difference.
You got the catheter in there?
No.
Sal P said, the system has choked the hunger out of our players. I remember when players were hungry to put up big stats and to be recognized as an all-star team. Not our team. Scoring doesn't matter. Get back, play defense, and dump it out.
Everyone has come around to my way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Greg Frost saying here, Croc Nelson is a good player when he shows up.
Yeah, when he shows up. And honestly, Barry Trotz, he's played his best hockey under Barry Trotz. Always said that. But to me, he's soft.
If Trotz isn't here, and let's say they determined to deviate away from Trotz,
he doesn't even get
the right prices out there for Brock. I'm not saying like, hey, I'm pro trade Brock, but if somebody offers you like a deal you can't refuse.
Here's the thing: he never would have been re-signed without Barry Trotz as being the coach. Would not have been re-signed.
I think that's a good point by Vinny Smith, Grump. I'll let you read it. Don't you love the little traffic pylon that is Josh Bailey in that image?
Yes, I do. How does a team rebuild with a 1,000-year-old GM and a 100-year-old coach that will not play any of the young guys?
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just think that we got old. I don't think the guys have given up. I don't think they've quit. I think they still use effort. It's just the fact that, guess what? They don't skate as well anymore. Chara is an albatross on the back end. Andy Green is not the greatest skater. Neither is Pellick, Pulak, or Mayfield. They're not great skaters. And our forward group is older. So they have a harder time coming back and back checking. And here's the big one. That's the way the league is now. Speed, speed, speed. Unless you have speed to combat that, you're in trouble.
Grumpy, let me ask you this. What do you think of this comment right here? Troll Forever 6 said the season's over.
I will say that I did want to see how the team produced without Mat Barzal. Would the Islanders step up and prove the grumpy old man wrong? Nope. Didn't happen. Did not happen last night. Maybe it happens tomorrow. I'm hoping. People think I root against the team. I do not. I mean, if you listen to the live screen, you can tell my reactions when they give up goals.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you. Paying too many old geezers too. Jeremy F said, TJ, you cannot afford to pay $5 million to a setup man that play on a third line. I'd rather have Sarnak type of guy on a third for certain. I was about to say, right? Josh Bailey, ideally third in real good situation, third line right winger. $5 million. He's precipitously dropped off though. He has dropped off the planet this season. You want to talk about
he's a sidecar. Okay. You know what? He doesn't deserve to get paid anything more than meal money. That's it. That's all he brings to the table. He's smart. Well, you know what, Josh? You could do my freaking taxes. I just don't want you to put a pair of skates on.
Okay, here's the thing. This is my point, though.
Could
Josh
you imagine
if sidecar? I got a point. Josh Bailey is a sidecar. before this last year in the sidecar, maybe he used to have a little horn going. He was doing something in there. He was waving at people. Maybe he had like little spinners on his sidecar. He was, he was doing something. He was contributing a little bit, even if it was a little honk of the horn, even if it was something as trivial as that. Right now, he's like in a state of paralysis where he's not doing anything with all those little bells and whistles that he has on the sidecar.
No. And the fact that I had to wait for my comment to listen to that was shameful.
Go ahead, Grump. Go ahead. Speak a little comment
okay. I don't even remember what I said. I listened to your inane tripe. It took, and his thing, my thing was actually creative, not yours.
Screw you, Grump. I'm trying. What can I say? Brian P said, system sucks. Vancouver brought in Bruce Boudreau. They've won 5 games straight, and they're having fun again because Bruce empowers the young offensive players to make plays and not just sit back and be miserable.
True.
I'd say Travis Green is not a good coach.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, here's the thing. It's like comparing Gallant to College Quinn. Same thing.
What do we give credit for to College Quinn, Grump?
That was D-Cut.
D-Cut, that's right. Dan L said the only silver lining is that if Matt Martin is buried, his cap hit is only $375K against the cap.
Again, why did you need to re-sign him for more than 1 year at a time? If somebody else wants to give you stupid money, goodbye. Bye, Matt Martin. Who cares? We could replace you with the freaking can of paint out there. Don't need you.
Dan, I'm going to go even one further. I think that Casey contract looks bad 2 years from now.
It looks bad now. It's going to look brutal 2 years from now. Again, a guy in his 30s, a grinder who can never stay healthy, so you give him a 6-year deal. A bottom pair center, 6 years. 6 freaking years. So he's going to be 36? It's just so stupid. It's astounding.
We got here Jeremy F. saying Edmonton is in need of a goalie. If they want to go anywhere, I'd be giving Holland a call if I'm Lou. When the time is right.
Boy, don't you with Peter Cirelli was their GM right now?
We would need to bring Garth Snow back for a 10-day contract to get a trade done with Cirelli.
Ugh. Griffin Reinhart. Think about that deal. Whoever thought they could have got that for Griffin Reinhart?
Yikes. I tell you.
Only
Edmonton.
Snow only made a deal when he killed it. That's the only time he made
either that or when he completely missed the mark. Like with Thomas Vanek.
No. That was all right. But here's the thing, they gave up Matt Molson.
Matt Molson, a first and a second for Thomas Vanek, and they got back in return. What are they? Maybe was it 2 firsts for Thomas Vanek? Am I misremembering this?
No. I'll have to look at that trade. But here's the thing: if he should have known if Vanek wanted to sign, that was the one thing. That was the bad part. But Vanek is a way better player than Matt Molson. Way better.
Okay, he was traded there for. Oh yeah, Jesus Christ! Revisiting the good old Thomas Vanek trade. We gave up Matt Molson, a first-round pick in 2014, a second-round pick in 2015 for Thomas Vanek. And then back in return, we got Sebastian Cole, and then a second-round pick.
Well, that was the second-round pick was Sebastian Cole.
No, we got a second-round pick additionally. We got a player and a second-round pick, if I recall correctly.
No, Sebastian Cole was the second-round pick. We traded Vanek to Montreal for a second-round pick who turned out to be Sebastian Cole. It was bad. He mismanaged that asset. That's what he did.
Oh, man, I don't think you're right there on that one, Grump. Was it really? Okay. I thought we got a pick as well.
That was the pick. That's who the pick turned out to be, I believe. Okay, doesn't matter.
We wound up trading Vanek and a 5th-round pick to Montreal for a 2nd-round pick in the 2014 draft in Sebastian Kohlberg. So we got the pick in the 2014 draft too.
Okay.
That being said, moving right along, Grump. And I'm tell you one thing, based off the time, we probably won't get to all the comments today, and I apologize, but we'll make sure we do our best. Matthew C. said, do you think Malkin will demand Lou to rebuild?
If people start wearing bags to the games, something's going to happen.
I agree. That would be kind of funny. It'd be funny, right? If you don't want to, I feel like they're not going to make you check to see if you got a mask on if you're wearing a bag, but maybe they will. Michael T said, "I need to go different. They need to go a different direction with their power play. Honestly, we need new coaches for the special teams."
I think the power plays look better since you put Wallstrom on the first unit because he's not afraid to shoot the damn puck, and Dobson up top with
He's got an
Barzal on
accurate
the other
shot,
side.
too.
You have Lee in front, and Palmieri's been a waste. I'd put somebody else who could shoot or is not afraid to shoot. Maybe Bellows. Why not put him out there too? What the hell? Can't
Frank
you win? I mean, that's what I would do.
Frank K said, "My friend was sitting at 222, and the suite is near there. He said Malcolm was fuming and blasting Lou during a Montreal blowout. The Islanders were falling out of the race at that point."
Well, there you go. It looks like they're pissed off too.
Did the Islanders lose to Montreal this season?
No, they killed Montreal.
I'm about to say, yeah, they killed Montreal. Yeah, 6-2. That's right. Eve L said, "Is Palmieri signing looking like Andrew Ladd 2.0 move?"
No, that's Anders Lee is Andrew Ladd 2.0. But it's still pretty bad.
I'll let you read that, Grump.
Grump ain't about that mainstream media cartel BS. That's right.
Got a comment here. John P said, "Hypothetical. If the Islanders are at the point where the playoffs are truly unrealistically achievable, does Barry give the younger players the majority of the minutes as opposed to his older players?"
That's my plan.
Do you?
I don't know if they do it.
Do you think Barry would do it? That's the hypothetical. Do you think?
You need to. Here's the thing. Lou needs to talk. At that point, Lou needs to talk to Barry. This is what we're doing. Okay. But here's the thing. They both know it, and Lou certainly knows it already. The old guys are not the future. The team is in a tank. He knows. He knows there's nothing to do. This is what you need to do, Barry. Are you on board? And if Barry says no, I think we still have a shot. Goodbye, Barry. Sorry.
Goodbye, Barry. It's been nice. Hope you find your paradise.
Hey,
right,
that's from Supertramp.
Right, I was about to say that's from The Office.
That's not from The Office.
The Office.
That's not from The Office.
Movie. It's been nice.
What do you think, that The Office actually wrote a song? No.
Yeah, it was a number one hit in the United States all the year when it came out, Grump.
God.
Matthew C said, "Do we go back to the double eight style and give up 300 plus goals? It's not Barry. It's how Lou shaped the team." I don't think we go back to the Doug Waite style. I think we try to find a happy medium.
Thank you.
I don't think that playing Edmonton style works for us. We don't have the talent offensively to play the Edmonton style. And again, Edmonton's a flawed team. I think we could be more defensive centric, but we have to mix in a little bit more offensive pop. We have to say, hey, forwards, we're going to let you occasionally, maybe not back check as hard and maybe not play as defensively responsible hockey to generate more offensive chances.
Okay. Even the general manager and the coach know. They've known it for 3 years. The team needs more offense. Just haven't done anything to address it. But no, you have to play defense, yes.
Deidre C said, "Who's on the hot seat, Lou or Trotz? If Trotz, who replaces them? If both would have to go. I think both have to go."
I think Trotz is the first one to go. And I want Quenneville. I don't care. I don't care what happened 10, 15 years ago. I could care less. I do not care. I don't care. I don't think it's right for a man to lose his job over something that happened 10 years ago that he wasn't even involved in. That's just ridiculous. Plain out, flat out ridiculous. But that's the guy I want. He's the best coach in the league. And guess what? He plays the happy medium between offense and defense. He knows how to talk and get the most out of young players. He knows how to handle veterans. He's the best coach in the league. He's won 3 Stanley Cups with a young team. That first year Chicago won, nobody thought they were good enough to win. Those young guys carried that team to the cup because he trusted them. Barry Trotz, never. Washington didn't want him back. After winning a Stanley Cup, they didn't want him.
Well, here's the other thing, too. Chicago and Kyle Beach actually just got an update not too long ago. They settled, I believe was today. So they settled on whatever they settled on. So
sounds like all he wanted was money.
Well, we don't know. Again, like maybe who the heck knows, right? You want justice.
He got paid. That's why they settled. He got paid.
Yep. Gaudreau is plus 16 this season.
Well, because Calgary is Daryl Sutter has he's a defensive minded coach too, but he gives the team the freedom to be productive. Remember how good Los Angeles was? They had talent. Yes, they were a defensive team. They had The Rock in goal, and they had a really solid group, and the forwards played two ways, but they had talent, and they could score.
Deidre C said, to be fair, Barry's used of what's handed to him. Now, see, this is where I disagree a bit. I think Barry handpicks the players that he wanted to keep, and he handpicks those players. I think, like we mentioned, hey, I think that Lou and Barry have a little bit of a disconnect sometimes. When I saw Kyle Palmieri sign back, I think Barry Trotz wanted Kyle Palmieri back. He looks at maybe what's out there and says, nope, bring in Kyle Palmieri. I think when he looks at individuals like Chara or Parise, he says, yep, those are players I want. Bring them in. Like with Andy Green, when he brought him over, he said, yep, I want Andy Green. I want to keep re-signing him too.
They had a choice between Taves and Letty, and he said Taves was the best player in the playoffs by a country mile after Varlamov.
Letty's the best player. He said,
well, I'm sorry, Letty. Letty was the best player by a country mile. They could have moved Letty. Would have saved the money against the cap, and you keep the younger player, the better player. Total miscalculation. And that's because I really believe that Lou works with his coach. What does the coach want? He works to fit what the coach wants. That's what
the general manager does that. You're kind of getting tongue-tied a little bit, Grump, but the general manager works with the
Lou works with the coach and gets the coach what he wants.
Yep. And John P said John Ledecky, Malkin need and Dewey Shea need to lock up Barzal and Sorokin long term with top dollar.
I have no problem with that at all.
Lou R. Trust me, Grump already covered who the next head coach. He just covered that. But these are old comments. Vinny Smith said a positive $12 tickets are back.
Oh,
he's like, hey, $40 for 2 beers.
Didn't take too long for that. $40 for 2 beers. Might as well get lubricated before you come in. Oh, that's right. Now I tailgate either.
Well, you just better drink it in the car. No tailgating, but just drink in the car and be overly friendly with everybody you see walking into the arena. Those are your new friends. Drink by yourself in your car because you can't tailgate. Yep, Grump, we'll be wrapping it up here. Give us about 5 more minutes, Grumpy. 5 more minutes.
Yes, because I have a big appointment tonight.
A big appointment. Oh God, who thinks that Barzal goes to Seattle here?
Nobody.
I hope not. Alexander says, hey, got a question for all of those that say Parise and Chara were the missing pieces. How do you guys feel now? Here's the thing. They're either do one or three things. They see that they were wrong and that they're not the missing links to the solution. They'll say they either get further entrenched in their point and say, well, it's not just Chara and Parise, right? There's a whole bunch of guys like Bavillier, and there's a whole bunch of guys that are not producing on the team, or maybe it's just one of those two, or maybe they're just they won't even acknowledge it.
Yeah, that's what they won't. They won't acknowledge. It's like it never happened. We all know the truth.
Every move that Lou has made has turned to shit. Trading Devontae's the number 1 move, I believe. Oh yeah, that's
that was the worst. That was the worst.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to go to the lower level with a bag. Draw a mask on the bag.
That's it. Now that'd be funny. Just like Barry must go, something like that.
Grumpy's alter ego said TJ goes to the bathroom more than a drunk girl at a bar.
True.
If Barry doesn't change, we're going to be the same next year. Like you said, Barry, no goal scorers, will play for the Islanders while Barry is the coach. I'm sorry, Grump. Barry has to go. End of the seas.
Yeah, well, that's fine. At the end of the season, that's fine. Like I said, have the talk. They should already be having those talks, honestly. Maybe they haven't yet. But yeah, I would definitely do that. And then just say, if you're not in on it, see you later. Let's just agree to part ways. You were great for the organization, and he has been great for the organization, but it's time to move on.
Yep. Add legitimacy back to the team, right? He's a coach that got us really far.
Yep.
Time was great. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your dedication, but we're going a different direction. So,
this is the best stretch of Barry Trotz's career, playoff-wise.
Thomas B said, the Taves trade is the reason I don't trust Lou to remake this roster. I'm afraid he's going to double down.
Well, see, I think that he talked with Barry, and Barry said that
who would you like to keep, Devon Taves or Nick Leddy?
Taves doesn't fit what Barry really wants to do, where Leddy did.
Drew L said, Grumpy, Seinfeld and Moe's needs to sponsor you after the Joey Bag of Donuts reference.
There you go. They should.
I didn't even know what the hell that meant.
They use that name on their show.
Now it's time that we're going to see if we really have actually good owners. They need to call both Lou and Trotz to their office and tell them that this is BS.
Absolutely.
John M saying, good evening, boys. Joining late, so I'll just listen. I'm sure you've covered most of my comments I would make anyway. I'm sure we have. We've covered a lot. Who does Sleepy Lou sign? 35 and older players?
Why?
Why does? I'm sorry. Why do they do that?
He's a dumbass. It's my only explanation.
I think he tries to fit what Barry wants too, and Lou likes the older players as well. Thomas B said, gents, did you ever notice the Red Wings last night seemed to dunk the puck on Chara's side and beat him to the puck? It began to cycle.
There was, yes, because that's what you do. You make him go, if he can eventually even get to the corner. There was one play where they dumped it in the corner and two guys beat Chara to the puck. One backed out, the other one took it, and they just passed around him like he was, like, oh, he looked like the Frankenstein monster, just swinging it air. Oh, look at the butterfly. That's what he looked like out there. It was terrible.
Got a comment here from CJ Scoot said, Palmieri only has 3 goals in 41 regular season games at the Islanders. Bad luck only goes so far. He's just bad.
We do think it's the beard. It
is the beard.
That's an excuse they should actually use.
I was about to say that's one that's kind of funny too and kind of lighthearted. Deidre C said 30's not old. Crosby is 35. He would still be good. That being said, right? Crosby is one of those generational talents. Generational talents could last for a long, long, long time.
Most players, once you see 30, it's like, you're at the top of you're at the top of the roller coaster, and everybody screams because that's what it's like when you're on the ice.
Viniel said Tarasenko or even Taylor Hall did not want to play Trotz hockey, let alone play for an overrated Lamoriello.
I mean, Taylor Hall was ticketed to go back to Boston. We didn't even.
They had a lot of cap space too for him.
Then it seems like they didn't even make an attempt at Tarasenko. Who knows?
Adam Sandler said, did Barzal really yell at Trotz? From what we heard that from, I can't remember who it was. We heard Yeah. Again, I'm not sure if you mentioned that off air or on air, but I know he got in a yelling fight. Adam Sandler also said, love your podcast and channel. Well, thank you, Adam Sandler. Well, hey, if you like the channel, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Make sure you like on Facebook. Make sure you're following Twitter. That also being said, if you like this channel, make sure you check out the channel in the link in the description below on YouTube. You'll find it on the podcast format too, even on Facebook as well. It's called TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. It is a sports podcast where we talk sports and literally shoot the shit. We have a grand old time. We talk about movies, pretty much anything and everything. We just have a good old time. We talk with people and we just shoot the shit. It's a fantastic time.
You get the Spider-Man. You will get the new Spider-Man movie review tomorrow, and it's not going to be a 10-minute soliloquy. I'm going to go what people is the movie good? Yeah, man, it's really good. Here's a couple of bullet points. Got to check it out, or no, don't go see it.
Yeah, and all I'm going to say is here too, that is Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. CJ Scoot says, yep, Detroit has been wretched for 6 years. I don't want to sign up for that. I agree. But he said Detroit, no thanks.
Yeah, but Yzerman's been there for 2 years, and he turned the team around.
Okay, Yzerman had a lot of pieces that are fantastic there, though.
2 years. The Rangers, 2 years. 2. Just got to be willing to do it and make the right moves. That's all you got to do.
When you talk about, so when did he get there? Did he get there for the 2019 draft?
I don't know.
I was about to say, if he didn't get there for 2019, then he didn't draft Mo Cedar. Mo Cedar fell to him. But I'm just saying, man, it's I do not want to be Detroit, man. My heart
Detroit
can't
was
take
bad for a lot of years, okay?
Yeah.
But sometimes, here's the thing. You're excited about their future.
I am, yeah. Also got here, Mario saying, Snow trade away Montreal's. Oh, yeah, that's right. Hold on. Montreal's second-round pick and the Islanders' second-round pick to Tampa for the Rags' first-round pick, which Tampa got St. Louis's trade, which is the first-round
St. Louis trade.
The St. Louis trade, and got the first-round pick. Snow picked Beauvillier.
Yes.
Oh, man, grumpy. We are here towards the end. We're at the end, Grump. What do you want to say before we wrap things up today?
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens, and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the podcast. Again, We're two Islander fans that love talking Islanders, that love talking with fans that want to see the Islanders win. We may have different ideologies, but the goal is always the same. The end goal is always the same, winning a Stanley Cup. How can we do that? Well, sometimes may not be always so rosy and cheery as some would like to think. The road sometimes is a tough and arduous one. We've talked about it. Hey, the fall from grace is the one hard and fast like we've seen this year. One last comment. Mr. B said, what attracts fans to this team that didn't live through the 80s?
This podcast. That's
this
what
podcast. There it is, Grumpy. I love it.
Too easy. That's way too easy.
Gary Bettman would have an issue with Joe Quenneville coming back, in my opinion. I think so too. You have to get blessings from Bettman.
You know what? When you're a guy who just built a brand new stadium and you want your team to be a success, I'm sure it's like, yo, Gary, let's get this done.
Mm-hmm. Well, Grump, thank you for being a part of the podcast today, as always, man. And
My
thank
pleasure.
you everybody for tuned in. We'll be going live maybe on Saturday, depending on if I get back in time from the wedding or not. It will be a little later than scheduled. We'll be going live during Sunday's game. We'll see you then. Don't miss out. Subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter. Thank you again, Grumpy Old Man.